Kenjo got it, and he cuts the lead in half. It's down to 3.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Oh boy, got to get it off. 3. And down goes number 1, Texas Tech. On the road, and Mark Adams' team upsets unbeaten Baylor.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
For the 2. Prescott throwing for it again. Got it. Touchdown, Dalton Schultz.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
19-year-old true freshman quarterback stepping in for the injured Matt Corral, and then being brought down. Bryson Jackson with the sack and the turnover on downs.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go on this Wednesday afternoon. It's a glorious day. Beautiful day in Central Texas. Wherever you might be, of course, watching or listening to us on YouTube, 365 Sports, in the app and online, Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, behind the scenes, running the mothership, Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims. And yes, we will break down Mark Adams and Texas Tech come into Waco and knock off number 1 ranked, previously unbeaten, and the defending national champion Baylor Bears. And so my question, guys, is this. We'll have Kendall Brown to break it down at 3:30 today. What happened last night, among some obvious, but also, is it fixable? And did anything get discovered or uncovered that might be a problem?
Not playing good defense near the basket. I mean, in the paint, they've not done that very well the last couple of games. It's very fixable, and this coaching staff has shown the ability to fix things pretty quickly. But, 2 games, 3-game stretch of having some similar problems is a trend. And I will caution people before they, jump off the cliff, is that's the worst game Baylor's played in near 3 years, and they lost by a basket.
Yeah, it's over. All the fun's over. Might as well just, pack up the program and shut it down for the rest of the year. I don't know what this losing stuff is that they've done suddenly, but this is not what I signed up for. So, I mean, yeah, it's a great win for Tech. Clearly by their celebration, I mean that meant a lot to knock off Baylor on the road. But yeah, I mean, I think everything's fixable. I think that they got a good blueprint for the way a team looked at them and said, oh, this is how we can beat them. And they did. And Tech, we had John Jacobs on yesterday, and he felt like they had a really great game plan. Well, Tech had a really great game plan. They came in with a good mindset, a good mentality, and a good plan to knock the Bears off, and they executed that plan. And Baylor played into it as well at times, with their shots or their decision making. So yeah, I just think Tech played a better game overall. Baylor doesn't have anything to hang their heads about. The world's not crumbling. The sky's not falling. It's a loss. It's just the first loss they've experienced in
305 days.
Yeah, nearly a year. So. I almost feel like, and I know people probably roll their eyes when they hear this. I'm not saying that the win was good or the loss was good in any way, but I did feel afterwards, I was like, there's a pressure release. It was almost, you know what I mean? Like there was this release of all this pressure that had been kind of building up of just you kept winning and you kept winning and you kept winning. And it was like, at some point, you're not going to keep winning these games. And I'm not one of those who's like, well, I'd rather be like they're going to probably lose again before the year's up. I mean, just the way the Big 12 is, I'd never expected them to go undefeated, the entire year, the rest of the way. But yeah, disappointing just because, hey, that would have been a really nice win. You lost at home. It's a Big 12 game. So if you want to hang your head, briefly over those things. But ultimately, it's just a loss. You chalk it up, you move on, and you get better.
Here's the bottom line. They did, Texas Tech, what Baylor has normally done, relentless, wearing Baylor down and coming back from a 15-point deficit. Paul, you and I have discussed this before. Normally when Baylor, no matter what part of the game is up 6, 8, 10 points, it's almost over, even if it's 6:38 left in the first half. But Texas Tech chipped away. They're a tough-as-hell team, like Baylor's been known to be. That's what Mark Adams brings to the table. When you play defense, you could get down 10 or 12, but eventually you're going to be able to make some stops. They came back. They were relentless. They were the better team last night, even though they were down at 1.15, even though it went back up to whatever it was early in the second half. And the Baylor offense had some that normally you can rely on that weren't reliable. Well, and they have to get some production because Tech was more athletic. They were more angular and lengthy. And Jonathan Tchamwa and also Flo Thamba are not expected to give offensive points to Baylor. They're not going to give you more than 4 to 6 to 8 points on a good night. But the rim protection, Ashley Hodge put this number up. And Tech destroyed them. And so in the Big 12, Baylor is allowing 61% field goal percentage inside the three-point circle. 61%. Now, that's not a lot of 12 and 15 and 17 footers. That is point-blank shots at the rim, dunks, and more. And that has been a problem, and it bit them last night. And they have to fix that. And JTT, Jonathan Tchamwa, and also Flo Thamba need to be able to do something about it.
And Jeremy Sohan needs to come back, too.
Yeah, and he does, too. But
that
Texas
helps.
Tech still playing without Shannon, and they won the game. And McCullough still about a half a foot.
Yeah, but I don't think defense was necessarily their problem last night. Obviously, giving up a lot of buntings like they are is a problem. But, with this team, if you hold somebody to under 70, which they did last night, if you hold somebody to under 70, they win. I mean, lately, 99%. All the time. So if you hold them under 70, you win. And they did that last night, and they more or less didn't win because they didn't make shots when they needed to make shots, and not because of the defense. Now, the defense could have been a little bit better, obviously, but yeah, I think they'll get it fixed. And but nobody coming down the schedule is, you're not going to get like the Cowboys and Eagles had the other night, where a team's just trying to get through, you can have a tune-up. Nobody for the rest of the season, like even their Big 12 SEC matchup is against Alabama. That's a game that's going to be tough. So everybody for the rest of the time has got a bullseye on.
Speaking of that, Auburn beat Alabama last night. Auburn's off to a great start. I think like 14-1 this year, 4-0 in the SEC.
Team that looks super athletic and angular. And
But here's the bottom line. Bottom line is that this is the Big 12, and at 305 days, Baylor didn't lose a game. Last time they lost a game was in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. And then they reeled off 6 consecutive championship tournament wins, and they were 15-0 until last night. Texas Tech with a great win. But that's not just one win for them. That's 2 wins in a row for them, including the game where they dictated everything for the most part for about 3/4 of the game at home against Kansas. And I love it for Mark Adams because when Chris Beard left, there was some hand-wringing. There were national people that thought, Texas Tech's going to fall. Mark Adams has taken his mentality, which has been there, under Chris Beard, and the team has accepted it, and they now feel like they can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people making the joke about Texas hiring the wrong guy out of Lubbock, and having fun with that. But, remains to be seen. Interested to see, those teams clash when that happens. But, yeah, Mark Adams has always had the reputation of being a great, mind for basketball and was given a lot of credit along the way for the successes they were having. Even though Chris Beard got the headlines, a lot of people would point to Mark Adams and say, well, he's the dude behind the scenes that's really doing a lot of stuff. And that's why when Beard left, it seemed like kind of a no-brainer that Adams would be the guy to replace him. And look, that was the easiest decision Kirby Hocutt had to make. And you see what he's doing. He's taken his opportunity and ran with it just like a lot of people thought that he would. And he's a tremendous coach. He's done a great job with that program. And, yeah, most teams lose a coach like that, like Chris Beard, who is so renowned. And they are going to, have to build it back up or take a little while to get it back to exactly where it was, and they haven't skipped a beat, and some will probably argue like they'll be better overall when all is said and done, and they very well might be. I would just caution, it is January 12th. We got a long way to go here. It's not like, March is tomorrow, but at the same time, that is a very key win that we could point back to, in March when the conference tournament rolls around and you're looking at seeding and going, okay, well, Tech got this spot because they beat Baylor back in January, and that's where that will come into play.
And you have to go there.
And you have to go to Lubbock, but at the same time, that's a opportunity to go there and knock them back in the mouth, like they came to your place and were able to knock you off. So, I think one thing I heard Ashley say, I didn't catch all the post game, but part of what he said, I did definitely agree with. A lot of talk about Kendall Brown and what a star he's going to be and everything. But Ashley pointed out, and I was thinking the same thing, for the last few days is he's great and all, but he's got to get way better. He's got to be so much better than he is to be talked about the way that he's talked about potentially as far as a lottery pick and things like that. I mean, and Ashley particularly pointed out the toughness factor. Yeah. And, Tech just kind of bullied them in some ways last night. And I think that's one thing coming out of the game where if you're Scott Drew, you look at that and like, okay, we don't need to be getting bullied by anybody, and especially a big guy like Kendall Brown, who's supposed to be the next big thing or one of the, the next big stars. He needs to grow up probably a little bit quickly and realize like, hey, you're like the big dude. You need to have a little bit more force down there. And so I thought that was a great point that Ashley raised and something that had kind of been on my mind here lately.
There was a point in the game, and I can't remember, and with the score, you just knew it was going to go down to the last minute or two. But there was a point in the game when Adam Flagler, who was as reliable as you could ever have, and last year during the tournament was huge. There were missed free throws, not a lot, but because I've seen him go 16 of 23, but there were a couple of keys there. But also there were 3 consecutive shots to hit a 3, and they missed every one of them. And you could almost feel the confidence kind of pop out of the balloon. And it's because not many shots were uncontested, but most of those were. But bottom line, everybody on that team can look in the mirror, and everybody at Tech can sit there and realize that some of them had to raise their notch again, because it would have been easy to beat Kansas, come to Waco, and have a letdown. They didn't. Now, early on, it's 9-0, down 15. They're a grinding team. They're not going to no one's going to blow them out. If they do, it'll just be a bad, bad night. This is part of the Big 12, and now what do you do? Otherwise, you end up with a 2- and 3-game losing streak.
Yeah, and the question for Baylor is, look, Tech faced adversity this year, and they've shown, look, they bounced and they beat the 2 best teams in the Big 12 in Kansas and Baylor back-to-back. And those will be the 2 best teams in the Big 12 at the end of the year, Kansas and Baylor. But they responded to adversity. Baylor needs to now, you knew last year that there were guys in the team, leaders in the team, that when you had adversity, when they came back from COVID, when they did all that stuff, that weren't going to let them get too down in the dumps. And when they had their opportunity, they were going to grasp it, which they did after the Big 12 tournament and went on the run that they did. But Butler, Mitchell, Teague, Vital are all gone. So who's got the big boy pants on? Who's the guy in the room that says, okay, look, you didn't play well because of this the other night. I didn't play well because of this, and they can wrap their hands around it. That was my only question about this team all year is where's the leadership in times of strife going to come? And at 15-0, in-game strife is in-game strife. I mean, you can overcome that. It's the off-day strife that can carry over. So who's going to take over on the team leadership-wise and be that guy, and we'll see who that is. I'm sure there's somebody, but they haven't had to really do it yet. At 15-0, you can be like, oh, well, things are just going so well.
And at the same time, against TCU, there were times during that game where you kind of looked at them and they found a way to win. And a game against Oklahoma, they kind of never were able to put the foot on the neck, and they found a way. But this is a conference in which if, in fact, you are not playing well and the other team is playing well, you can still win, but the bottom line is Texas Tech was a better team last night. They move on. Baylor moves on. Oklahoma State Saturday afternoon. I was told by somebody that was in the postgame locker room that it was very sullen was the quote, very sullen. And that's good. It should be. Got to be some guys pretty pissed off. And Texas Tech should enjoy every second of it, and they have. I love what Mark Adams has done at Texas Tech. Remember, we had Austin Massey on a couple of days ago about Texas Tech, and I asked him this question. Could it actually be a blessing in disguise about the coaching change? Now, it's easy to say yes then or even now because of the win against Kansas and now double it up with Baylor, but he emphatically said he thought so. And it's a coach that people in Lubbock and Texas Tech alums and fans can embrace because of his hard work mentality. All right, 254-339-1122. That's the number to call. We have the lines open. Paul, they open?
Yeah, they are now.
Armstrong, lines open. If you'd like to call in, we'd love for you to do so. 254-339-1122. Also, the text line, the same number, and some of you are on that as well. The chat room. Let's see. John Cortez, what a dunk. If I'm a Tech fan, or if I'm that player, and it was Arms who put the dunk on Matthew Meyer, who's had some of his own posterizing dunks himself. That's a dunk that you might put up on the wall somewhere. Biscuits and Gravy, taking a pause, hacking up a lung to congratulate the Texas Tech faithful on a good win and finding a coach for your future. Let's see, Scotty B, Baylor needs to be more aggressive and put the opposing teams away up double digits. Now, that's something else that I have been saying in the last, let's say, a couple of weeks, and even maybe one or two, is that there's the killer instinct, and then there's you put your foot on their neck and you crack it.
Yeah, I don't think you were going to do that to Texas Tech last night, even if
not
you got
with the way
big.
they play.
No, I mean, I never felt like even when they were up 15, and I'm like, this is not anywhere near over. I never felt when they were up double digits like that game was anywhere venturing towards a blowout. That never crossed my mind. I thought the entire time, like, This is going to go all the way. I mean, Tech is going to come back at some point, and they did. And yeah, I mean, Baylor could have made some more shots and kept that lead a little bit more comfortable and made it more difficult and made it take longer. But, yeah, I never thought that they were just going to bury them early on and be done with them. I don't think you can do that to this Tech team. But, yeah, that was a credible poster dunk on Meyer. That probably hurts worse than the loss, to be honest with you. That probably keeps him up last night longer, and just knowing that social media is sharing it and it's going all over the place and it's on SportsCenter and all that. I mean, that's probably as bothersome as anything. But, yeah, I mean, look, it's a loss. It's funny to see people not know how to react to it because it hasn't happened in so long. I mean, the run they've been on is incredible. It's included a national title. It's included all sorts of things, and it can still include all those things again this year. But this is, now we'll see something about this team because it has been so long since they've lost a game. And you're right, there is not a Davion Mitchell in that locker room or a Mark Vital or a Maceo Teague to sit there and say, all right, now here's what we do. So is that going to be Matthew Meyer? Is that going to be, Kendall Brown, who's supposed to be one of your big stars in the future? Is that going to be Jeremy Sohan? Who's that going to be? Who's that guy going to be, that bulldog in the locker room? Because they had 3 or 4 of those guys last year, and the Bulldogs were in red and black last night, and that's one thing they got to look at. From John Cortez as well, and there's a couple of others. Yesterday I said, don't be surprised if Tech beats Baylor. Well, Tech did beat Baylor. In your place, say you. Laugh now. It's glorious day at Texas Tech. Let's see. And salt to the earth. When we started the show, we didn't apparently lick all over you fast enough, and you were a little bit upset that we're not talking.
I don't know what else we could have done to describe last night. I think it's great for Mark Adams. I think it's great for Texas Tech. I think it's great for the Big 12. I don't know what else you want us to say. Texas Tech was the better team last night. I understand you're a little bit frosty, a little bit excited, and you should be. But what do you want us to say that we didn't say to start the show? So I'm waiting for you to answer my question on the chat room. And we have the number right now. Call 254-339-1122 because you should be excited. Aaron Wilson, thank you for the way you handle it. He's popping off and loves it. He should be. Aaron Wilson's the 365 Sports Hat guy. We love him. Congratulations, along with many others. And I mentioned already John Cortez as well. Paul?
All right, let's go to Paul in New Jersey. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Well, thanks for taking the call. So I'm kind of a new Baylor fan as my son started attending in 2019. And, myself and my wife have become huge Baylor followers. And we were lucky enough to be down for the Texas Tech football game. So I would have gladly traded last night's loss for that missed field goal. That's one thing.
Yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right. Absolutely right. And Texas Tech and Baylor, when they play, I'm telling you, it goes down to the wire in most everything. Now, last year, and I'll let you finish, but last year, isn't the game I told you about in March, where they just crushed Texas Tech? Was that the one at the end of the year?
Yeah.
When Maceo
Teague was
basically as good a game as you ever seen a college player ever play at the Farrell Center. And I don't think that didn't kind of stick in the back of the head of Texas Tech as well. Paul?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, no, and the other thing about the team itself, it's amazing how actually we hadn't seen this happen earlier, to be honest with you. But Jeremy Sohan, and I'll probably butcher his name, but the kid is so solid and plays at such a high level. He actually he really is a better player than Kendall right now. And I agree with you guys. Kendall has just got to understand that he has to play full blast and not worry about picking up charging fouls. Because, even though it's one thing I will say, guys, before you guys cut me off, is that it's amazing to me that Baylor cannot get the whistle at home. It is shocking to me. Now, I went to University of Maryland, so I have a different view from a different part of the country, but I know good basketball. Let's put that way, right? So it's just amazing they cannot get the whistle at home, and maybe because Scott's such a good guy or something, but that's something that everybody, I think the mentality is going to change with the new arena, because you guys, as you heard last night, I was stunned to hear the Texas Tech fans be as loud as they were. So anyway, appreciate you taking the call, and I'm on the bandwagon here on football and basketball. We've had a great ride in this 4 years. It's crazy. So
great.
Hopefully, maybe I'll even join the premium side.
Hey, man, thank you. Appreciate your call. And enjoy. Hope to hear from you again. Thank you. 254-339-1122.
By the way, and I don't mean to dredge up old things, but Joe McGuire got a lot of crap for saying that Texas Tech fans were loud in Waco.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. It wasn't a massive, but it was enough. And when you're locked in, and you could have a contingent of 100 to 300 people or 120 people, whatever the number, could have been 50. But when you're locked in, you can make it sound like there's more there. And that's good. And that's the way it should be. And that's what you should do on the road as well. We got
we have one more. We've got Owen in Virginia. Owen, thanks for your call. You're on the Bet US caller line.
Hey, thank y'all for taking the call. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit here. My Mountaineers did win in basketball last night, won big against OK State. But, y'all talked about yesterday about the FCS playoffs with North Dakota State winning 9 out of the last 12 or 11, something like that. They've only lost twice within the recent decade. But, yes, if we were to expand the college football playoffs, it's a good possibility Alabama could still dominate like they do now. But that's not what everybody's asking for. It's the fact that with 4 teams, it's more of an invitational right now, an SEC invitational, rather than giving smaller teams an opportunity and maybe boosting their program and helping them in the long run rather than in the short term, and making just college football.
They get beat by Alabama. Well, how are they any different from most other teams, except for Georgia this year, right? So I'm with you. I think that just the opportunity itself is what can help raise the stature of your program and help elevate things like recruiting or just excitement levels, and that leads to other things that are also exciting. But, yeah, if you never get an opportunity to even have the opportunity, then there's none of that. So I'm with you totally. I mean, it's not about who's standing tall at the end. You don't expand the playoffs so that it's not Alabama winning or it's not Georgia winning. And I think that's what is kind of misleading about the way some are positioning it, is they're trying to position it as though everybody's clamoring for an expanded playoff so that the SEC won't win. I don't think that's what anybody's saying. Everybody from my understanding, who's rooting for an expanded playoff is rooting for it just simply to give more teams opportunities to have a shot at Alabama or Georgia, because we know right now, when's Baylor going to play Alabama unless they're put together in a bowl game? Never, right? So we'll never know. But if there was an 8-team, 12-team playoff, maybe they see each other. Now, would that go well for Baylor? I don't know, but the point just is, you'd have that opportunity. Right now, you have to be perfect to have that opportunity, basically. Or you just, don't lose to TCU in an ugly game. But, yeah, I'm with you. And don't let these anti-playoff expansion pundits paint it the way that they're trying to paint it right now, which is, well, it's still going to be the same. No, it's not about the champion. It's about the field and the opportunities. It's not about who's standing tall at the end.
It's like Montana State played the national championship. They got smoked by 9-time champion or whatever it is, North Dakota State, but they were the number 8 seed and had a chance to at least get to that round and won a couple of games along the way.
And is their program better off now for having had that opportunity? Yes, and that's the whole freaking point. And that's the whole point. Not that the same team won it. No, it's that Montana State, for example, is a better program now because they won a couple playoff games and they can use that in their recruiting brochures. And now they know they went toe-to-toe with the monster in the room, and, hey, they got beat like everybody else, but at least they, got the measuring stick game. And Cincinnati got their measuring stick game, and they got that opportunity. And Cincinnati's better off for having that opportunity. And you can't tell me otherwise, even though they lost. And that's the whole point. Not the champion at the end of the day, but that's how some people are trying to paint it. And, yeah, I noticed that.
All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from Kendall Brown for 365.com on Baylor basketball. Who's the head coach? Scott Drew, right? He just won a national championship.
So. Has
an amazing record. What Baylor's done since his day one, where they were when he was hired. He has had to do this before. There were some teams that started out conference play under 500 immediately and dug themselves out of 1-5 or 1-6 or 1-7 at times. And this is a team coming off the national title. They'll go back to work. Don't think that they won't go back to work, because they will. And now we'll see if there's anything they've cleaned up and how they've improved when they play Saturday afternoon against Oklahoma State, who just a week ago beat Texas at their place in Stillwater. And a nice win for Texas last night. And we mentioned what Texas Tech did. Texas hammered Oklahoma. That game was down in Austin. And as even Owen mentioned, what West Virginia was able to do. Iowa State last night, I got to get this in. Ouch. At the end of the game, a couple of calls that went against them at, well, yes, you know where, in Kansas. And it was, and one of them, a goaltending call that was brutal. That hurt them, no question about it. They got close, but Kansas gets the win. Kendall Brown next on Sikkim 365 Radio. So DiscoverWoodway.com has begun the year, and there's a couple of events if you have a daughter in your family, one for your father or you the father, and one if it is in fact for your wife or mother. Father-daughter dance, February the 5th. That's now less than a month. It's about three and a half weeks away. February the 5th at 6:30. There is a father-daughter dance in Woodway, the city of Woodway. Discover Woodway, and you can go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. After that, the week next, it's Wolfway Dog Park grand opening as Woodway opens up yet another trail or another thing to do when you're there, whether you're staying at a hotel or visiting people as well. And then in May, which is down the road obviously, but there's a mother and daughter brunch. So helping enjoy and celebrate the daughter or daughters you have in your family with discoverwoodway.com.
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrates the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the Start Something New sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Aaron Wilson, Texas Tech fan, our 365 Sports hat man, tried to get in at the very end of the last segment. Aaron, we will get you on before 4 o'clock. That's a promise from me. But we're about to hear from Kendall Kaut, covers men's basketball, college basketball in general as well. Aaron just said, I'm all fired up on sugary, caffeinated drinks and potato chips. Enjoying the win, as you absolutely should be. We're now joined by Kendall Kaut, Sikkim 365, basketball analyst and a guy that can break down the X's and O's, the trends, and much more. Kendall, how much of last night can be fixed, and was there anything that you saw that might be something that popped its ugly head?
Yeah, always a pleasure to be on with you all, and a great question, I think, to start us off. I think a lot of it can be fixed. I think the concern for Baylor going forward, and what I think a lot of people looking at the forums have kind of wondered, is what does Baylor need to do to get Matt Meyer going offensively? I think that's probably one of the big things that must be addressed and kind of corrected for Baylor to win a national title again.
Is it one of those things where he's done such good work defensively, becoming a player who even plays defense, Kendall, as opposed to, sometimes being an elite defender? Has he forgotten, what brought him there?
I think it's a fair point you brought up there, Paul. For me, I would like to see Matt have the ball in his hands. And excuse me as I'm now coughing, thinking about that terrible loss yesterday. I think Baylor's got to put the ball in Matt's hands a little bit more. I want to see him create a little bit more in the middle of the court, have opportunities to run pick and rolls. Early in that Iowa State game, they gave him that opportunity. He's been so successful that it's just essential to get Matt going. I don't think he's forgotten how to play offensively. I do think he's a better shooter than he's been, but he needs those easy opportunities to create for others and be the player he's capable of being.
Kendall, what did you think of Mark Adams and Tech's game plan going into last night?
Chris, I think Mark Adams is one of the best coaches in the country. I talked to him for a long time at Big 12 Media Days. There were rumors out there about how many people were going to leave Texas Tech if Chris Beard had stayed, what was going on there. He is an absolutely phenomenal coach, had a really good plan about we're going to put pressure on Baylor. You saw late in the game when Kendall Brown kind of got the ball a little bit open on the perimeter, fell for the old trap against Tech where you see the baseline open, you can drive, and suddenly you're smothered. Kept his guys composed. You talked in the post game about how they're down 15 points, number one team in the country. Pretty easy to kind of quit or think, you know what, we beat Kansas on Saturday. Don't need to get too worked up. That's the kind of ability Mark Adams has, and why I'm a little surprised Texas Tech went with him at 65. Didn't go for a flashy hire after getting left by Chris Beard. But the question you can start wondering in Lubbock is, was Chris Beard getting a little propped up by Mark Adams, because he's looking a lot better than Chris Beard is in Austin.
Yeah, and this doesn't seem to be, just like Baylor has every feeling, or I would think, to bounce back. Of course, Oklahoma State won't be easy. Nothing will be easy. There are no gimmies. We know that, but this appears to be someone like in Texas Tech that this is more than just a 1 or 2 game run for them. This is a team that's going to be in the mix at the end of the year.
Oh, Texas Tech's a really good team, Smokey. I think they have a chance to win the Big 12. I worry a little bit about what their offense is like at their peak, but they have Kevin O'Banner, who was a dominant scorer last season at Oral Roberts, who nearly made the Elite Eight, if not for a rough ending against Arkansas, might have made the Elite Eight. Even Baylor, maybe their best run of the season. Adams has these guys playing at such a high level. They don't have a traditional point guard, which might leave you a little bit down about what this team's ceiling is. But if you can beat Kansas without 2 of your best players, and then Kevin McCullough was hobbling up and down that court a little bit last night. You come down from that 15-point deficit against number one Baylor, winners of 21 straight home games. The ceiling is the roof, I think, for Texas Tech potentially, but they got to hit that level offensively. You worry a little bit about them playing great offense for 5 straight games, but I wouldn't be shocked in a pretty wide open season if Tech cuts down the net.
Kendall, how do they fix, particularly Flo Thamba and Jonathan Chama-Chachua, stopping people from getting easy buckets, point-blank shots? That's been happening the last couple of weeks.
It's another great question, Paul. Y'all are doing well today. I'm now, having said y'all are asking great questions, if y'all have a bad week, I'm going to have to tell y'all. So don't blame me if I come in here one week and I'm like, guys, it's not your best. My voice is not my best today. But I think there is sort of this weird element with Baylor's defense where the style Baylor plays, they take so many charges. They can be frustrating at times to say, Flo, you're 7 feet, just jump up. Or John, you're 6'8" with a 7'4" wingspan, got to jump up. I think Baylor might want to emphasize a little bit more going forward that they want to contest more shots, as opposed to the first mindset will always be taking a charge. The officials seem to be a little bit stricter on what's going to be considered a charge versus a block this season. How close you are to that restricted arc seems to be getting called a block more than a charge this season. So I would like Baylor to go in defensively in one of these games, maybe it's Saturday, and say, you know what, Flo, John, your goal should be to block 2 shots this game. Maybe take one more opportunity to block as opposed to taking charge. I think that mindset shift against an opponent like OK State, still very good, as Smokey mentioned, but a team you can maybe experiment a little bit more with as opposed to later on in the season when you're going to Allen Fieldhouse or playing Tech again in Lubbock.
So, Kendall, I was watching a little bit of the Sikkim 365 post game last night and happened to catch a part where Ashley was talking about Kendall Brown and the high school ranking and the expectations and the NBA future and all of that. But he was talking about, how Kendall probably, needs to get a little bit tougher, realize kind of who he is, especially in games like this. What do you think about, Kendall Brown, how he fits in and what he probably needs to do to possibly emerge more so moving forward?
Kendall Brown is one of the big things. I think Baylor's got to focus on how they can fix sort of where he is, Craig. For me, I think it kind of starts with I would like to see Kendall Brown take 1 3-point attempt a half. Maybe he's not a great shooter. There's a question about how effective he can be, but he passes up these wide open threes, and so teams don't close out as hard on him. And that results in both he doesn't take these shots where I think he's pretty open, and we saw earlier this season. He can make open shots. Even when he misses, the ball looks pretty good coming off of his hand. And it will cause teams to be closer to him, so the offense opens up for Matt and some other guys. And it'll open up more for him so we can get those alley-oops he was so successful on earlier this season. So even if Kendall's not shooting well from three, I think he's got to take these opportunities. And if he passes them up like he did last night against Tech, that's where he gets himself in some trouble.
Have teams now seen what Jonathan Tchamwa can do out front with his length and his size, which is a problem, with the way Baylor runs their defense, and found a way to use that to their advantage?
I think teams are adjusting pretty effectively, Smokey. I think teams are trying to get the ball inside a little bit more with how much Baylor will switch actions. Baylor's not going to be quite as dominant up front this season, obviously, with Davion Mitchell gone. And then last night, it really hurt to not have Jeremy Sochan. I think he's playing himself into the first round of the NBA draft next season. If you kind of just focus on Sochan in one of the next games, then kind of challenge Baylor fans to do that when he's back and healthy, he is so good at just locking people down at the wing where they can't get around him. So help is not necessary. So I think his loss really impacted Baylor. And you can say, well, this is still a really good team, 7 high-quality players. And I thought Dale Bonner played a pretty good game last night. But to lose a first-round NBA talent like that changed the whole trajectory of Baylor. Still credit Tech for the win. But he's a huge missing piece. And I think when he gets back, the pressure he can apply and how those switches become tougher means that what John can do so effectively becomes easier, knowing he's got Jeremy on the backside.
Kendall, last year, they were littered with veterans, Mark Vital, Davion Mitchell, amongst many others. Who do you think is the guy on this team that's going to be the one in the locker room after their first loss in forever that is the one that kind of gets them over that small hump? Who's the guy that's going to, bark a little bit and get them back, as soon as this upcoming game against Oklahoma State? Do they have that guy?
That's a fair question about them. And I kind of asked in the offseason, I was like, last year's team, you had Mark Vital, who we all love Mark. But Mark's a little bit different of a cat, to kind of say something there. And Mark can get kind of upset. He can get passive-aggressive. He can get outright angry. I think every team kind of needs a Mark Vital. And I sort of wondered, did this squad have that guy? James Akinjo, not afraid to talk to guys in the offseason. Adam Flagler told me that James just told Matt straight up, stop clapping. That annoys me. You're not getting past the ball. And Matt's been better about not clapping this season. But you talk to James, and James is a really smart guy, but he's kind of a quiet talker. To use, or a low talker, to borrow the old parlance from Seinfeld on that front. So I don't know, Adam Flagler, I don't know if he's the guy that's going to get in your face or shout at you. So I don't know who that guy is, but they need to find somebody that can kind of say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we need to do better. I think it could be John. I think it could be by committee, but I don't think they sort of have that voice like Mark could be last season. But at the same time, Davion and Jared weren't really in your face guys last year, but last year's team didn't lose till COVID. This year's team has a much smaller margin for error.
So, all right, Oklahoma State is next. Obviously, they have to bounce back. The schedule doesn't stop. The calendar just flips to the next one. It's either Monday, Tuesday, or it's a Friday or whatever. Not Friday, but Saturday. Oklahoma State, your thoughts about that matchup?
They've been one of the most disappointing teams in the country to begin the year, but you look analytically, they still rank top 50 on KenPom. I thought this was going to be a lot better team. I talked to Ice Likely for a minute at Big 12 Media Days. He thought they were a really good team, would play effectively. They have Bryce Thompson, who had transferred from KU after being a 5-star guard who had previously played, or his father previously played under Bill Self at Tulsa. So the thought was he'd be pretty effective. But he's not even shooting 30% from three this season. I watched a lot of him in that KU game. Takes really bad shots. They have a lot of talent. It's one of those teams that I think probably will go like 4-14 in the Big 12 or 5-13, but they'll knock off somebody you don't expect. They're capable of beating Baylor. They played KU pretty close for a while, but this is a team you got to beat if you're Baylor in a bounce-back game, and might be the worst team in the Big 12, though K-State and TCU will have an argument at that front.
So who's the villain? So they need a villain. They need somebody to stand up and say, hey, we're done with this. And that'll be interesting to watch because they're also pretty good dudes, you know. But Mark Vidal was the poster child for being the villain, and I think the physicality of him and how he played as well, how hard he played. Thank you, Kendall. Appreciate your time. Kendall Kaut will join us throughout the season, along with others that cover Baylor men's basketball on 365 Sports and also Sikkim 365 Radio. We will have former Baylor safety J.T. Woods today at 4:45, and a conversation with the icon himself, the legend, and Grant Teaff at around 5 o'clock. His thoughts about Georgia, Alabama, Baylor, Dave Aranda, and some of the things he's done since the offseason began. Also, the chance we might get Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn, who's one of the finalists at tonight's Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award in Tyler. Deuce Vaughn, one of the finalists, good chance we get him around 5:15 or so today, among some other things. Paul's closeout top 5 at 5:55. This and Aaron Wilson. Call now, 254-339-1122, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sports betting season in full force right now. NFL playoffs. You've got the college basketball we just talked about. The NBA, a lot of stuff starting up. NASCAR and UFC, all those things you can get. BetUS.com, futures, prop bets, all these different things on the NFL playoffs this weekend at BetUS.com. Use our promo code SICKM125. That's 125% bonus with cash. Or SICKM200. That's 200% bonus if you use crypto. And guess what? You only need $50 to get that bonus. So you don't have to put in, $100, $200 or whatever to get that bonus of 125 or 200%. All you need is $50 to open an account at BetUS.com today. That's BetUS.com. Use promo codes SICKM125 or SICKM200.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour, thanks to Kendall Kaut. 4 o'clock at 4:45, JT Woods, Baylor safety, working out now in Arizona for the NFL draft and all of that comes over the next few weeks as well. 254-339-1122. Your thoughts last night. Number one went down. The winning streak is over. The defending national champions have a wart, and now they have a game Saturday at home against Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech with a couple of incredibly impressive wins, winning at home against Kansas, and also the game last night in Waco.
All right, let's go back to the BetUS caller line. Aaron Wilson, our friend on the line. Aaron, thanks for holding.
Hey, guys, thank y'all so much for taking my call. First off, I want to thank Craig, David, Paul for the best Big 12 coverage in the country. This show is unbiased and is the most in-depth that I've ever come across, and the coverage is absolutely wonderful. The entire 365 Sports Nation is absolutely blessed to have y'all's coverage, and we appreciate y'all. I hope this show grows and gets bigger and better every day, as I believe it is.
Wow. Well, thank you very much,
Aaron.
Aaron.
The Baylor Bears and the reigning... Yeah, no, for sure, guys. Congratulations to the reigning champion, the champion Baylor Bears. Sick 'em. Let's go get 'em, boys. I know y'all got a heck of a squad and just a wonderful fan base. Couple of questions, or maybe just one question. Where do you see Texas Tech, now prognosticated to be a 7 seed, actually going into the NCAA tournament? And do you think that there's a potential that even after we play Baylor here in the Big 12 tournament, that there's a possibility that Tech and Baylor could see one another in the NCAA tournament? I'm going to go ahead and hang up and listen to y'all's answers. Sick 'em Bears, wreck 'em.
Hey, thanks for the call, Aaron. You are, and by the way, so many on the chat room were rooting for you and said, don't hyperventilate. Everyone in America is going to be listening to you, and you did a great job. We appreciate the call for your support as well.
Oh, I think that
there's 8 teams that are going to make the tournament. They're going to end up. Some of them are going to play each other.
8 teams that make the tournament, and one of them's not allowed to in the conference. So think about that. So one team in the conference is not allowed to this year. So now they've not played. I mean, I think that maybe that reality has sunk into them a little bit, but still, the Oklahoma State's a dangerous team out of the 10. For Texas Tech, you asked, they're prognosticated a 7 seed right now. I think beating Kansas and Baylor moves you up to the 3 or 4 line right now.
No doubt about it.
Because you just showed that the tournament's about, and seeding for the tournament is looking back and going, okay, who are these guys really beaten? Well, if you're going to beat 2 teams that are potential 1 seeds, and Baylor's still a potential 1 seed even with the loss, and so is Kansas. I think, Kansas, I think the rest of the Big 12 needs to get scared when Kansas gets really right, because they've been really good this year, but they've not hit their peak potential. And if that happens here in the next week or 2, they're going to be really dangerous to face for anybody down the line, whether it's Big 12 in the tournament or otherwise. So, if you beat those 2 teams like that handily against Kansas at home and then hold off Baylor on the road, I mean, to me, you're on the 3 line to me at least.
They're number 15 in the Ken Palm ratings. Baylor State at 1 for now. They're 15th. They're a notch ahead of Texas. They are right now, I would say, no question, a 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely flipped the seeding, and they'd be in that top grouping. I definitely think that's safe to say after this past week. And the thing, like Paul said, is that even if they don't win games like that the rest of the way, which I would expect that they will, those 2 losses are there on their record, and they're not going to go away. Like that's going to be in March. We're going to hear it. Well, Texas Tech had that week where they beat Kent. We're going to hear that over and over again. So that was a monumental week for them, and definitely bump them up a few seeds at the very least. And in terms of seeing each other in the tournament, I'd say there's a good chance of that. I mean, I'd expect Baylor to win a couple tournament games. I'd expect Tech at this point to win a couple tournament games, and it all just come down to where they're positioned, but whether that's the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight or the Final Four or whatever, depending on where they're situated in the bracket, I think there's a great chance these 2 teams could meet for a potentially 4th time. I mean, they could play in the Big 12 tournament. They could, they're going to meet at least twice, if not 3 or 4 times. So, really good chance of that, I would think, because I don't see either one of these teams going home early. I think for Baylor, you don't want to say it's a good loss. I'm not going to be that guy. No, it's not a good loss, but I do think it is a loss that wakes you up from this dream a little bit. They were just buzzing and humming along, and even the close games, those turned out to be wins every single time over the last year. And now, finally, you had a close game where it wasn't a win. So you do, maybe for the first time in a long time, go look in the mirror a little bit and figure some things out. So I'd expect a much better Baylor team coming out of this game last night, and I'd expect Tech to just keep doing what they're doing and only get better as they get healthier, especially with the confidence they're going to have behind them now. So, I think good chance they could see each other.
Here's what's interesting, and I didn't realize this. I just started looking at Oklahoma State's schedule. I knew what it was leading up until last night. They have to play tomorrow night. They host Oklahoma State tomorrow night. Then they're on the road against Kansas State. You talk about a week. Home against Kansas after you had lost to Iowa State, and you take care of your business. You travel to number 1 ranked unbeaten Baylor, and you take care of business. Home against Oklahoma State, and for Oklahoma State, they're on this little 2-game road trip with Lubbock and then Waco. That's kind of a game jammed in the middle of the week, which is weird.
Not a lot of Thursdays.
No. And even tonight, TCU plays at Kansas State, and those 2 teams, of course, are at the bottom of the barrel right now in the Big 12.
All right, let's go back to the phones. And Chris in Missouri, you're on Sikkim 365 Radio on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Good afternoon, guys. Hey, sorry I haven't been able to watch as much lately, and I'm sorry if you've already covered this, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on Antonio Brown throwing Tom Brady under the bus. I think Tom Brady did everything he could to save a guy whose career was floundering after he left Pittsburgh, and I'm just wondering what you guys were thinking about him. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for the call. You guys can have fun with this, and I will too.
I think it was the dumbest thing.
254-339-1122.
Or one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, in that he was sitting there going, well, why am I on a prove it deal and Gronk isn't on a prove it deal? Well, Rob Gronkowski has as much fun in the offseason or off times as anybody in the world. But guess what? He still shows up to work and does his job, right? Okay, Antonio Brown, the reason you're on a prove-it deal has nothing to do with Tom Brady at all. It has everything to do with your conduct at the last places that you were. New England and in Oakland with the Raiders. So
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I mean, all those 3 places. So that's why you're in a prove-it deal. Like, pretending that it's Tom Brady who's pulling the strings on your life when he's the one who essentially told the Bucs to sign you.
He could have said no.
Yeah, he could have been
let him live in his freaking house.
Yeah, let him live in your house. Come on. Exactly. It's the most shockingly unself-aware thing I've ever heard. You've got problems, dude, clearly. And look, if you're upset with the Bucs and the way that they handled your injury, that happens a lot in pro sports, that people disagree, but geez, dude, come on.
I don't believe a single word that comes out of Antonio Brown's mouth. I think he's a doofus, and I think he's an idiot. And I understand that part of why he acts like an idiot is because of the hit against Vontaze Burfict. A lot of people point out that he's never been the same. He was a jerk before that. I think people forget that sometimes. It's not as though he was some, little angel, and then all of a sudden he took that hit and he just turned into Antonio Brown. No. He was showing signs of that before that hit. That hit just amplified things and probably made things a lot worse. I do think it rewired him a little bit. I'm not going to make fun of concussions or CTE because I definitely think he's suffering from some of that. But I also think he's a dude that's suffering from some other issues as well that are maybe undiagnosed or maybe not properly taken taken care of, whether that could be something like bipolar or whatever you want to say it could be. I think he's dealing with some of that. I'm also not going to make fun of that because that's something that's not typically in your control, and again, could have been amplified by some of the hits that he took. But I think deep down, I see a lot of people trying to excuse his behavior because of CTE potentially, or because of bipolar disorder, or whatever it is he may be dealing with. But I think deep down, Antonio Brown's just a bad dude. I don't think he's a good person. I'll never forget watching the video of him screaming at cops in front of his girl and his kid, and the way he was talking to the cops and talking to his girl and all that right in front of his child. I'm just never going to be able to shake that video. So I feel for the guy on a personal human being level, but besides the things that could be making his behavior more amplified or worse, I think just deep down he's a bad dude, and I don't like him, and I'm tired of hearing about him, and I hope he never plays another down of football, but I don't wish ill will outside of that. But I'm tired of the dude.
I think he's a nutbag.
Bad seed, and get out of here.
Yeah, he by the fact that anyone even talks about him is giving him what he wants. He wants the attention. He's an attention whore.
Oh, no doubt.
The unfortunate thing is, even with New England, a team desperate for wide receivers because of the injuries to Godwin, among others, and Evans has been beat up.
In Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Even then, they said, get the hell out of here. And they need wide receivers, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have depth at wide. Not many teams do, but they get the hell out of here. Done. You can mismanage the injury and all that. We'll see in the end if that's the case, but he's got a screw loose, wish him well, bipolar, whatever, depression, get better. Somebody grab him before he does something even more stupid.
Yeah, and look, I hear teams, and I know that like there is a bad history in the NFL of, how many fingers am I holding up? 2, you don't have a concussion. You could have just guessed that, at the time. Go ahead back in. There's not a great history, but now with the amount of money that they're spending on players, they're not trying to get guys hurt where they have to, lose the money that they did. This is the NBA example, but it was the Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs. The Spurs are not handling my knee right. Are you kidding me? If you asked them to carry you around on their shoulders so you didn't have to walk between games, they would do it. So let's not pretend like the team doesn't have your best interest at heart. Maybe the coach is pushing you a little harder, but it was all nonsensical BS.
Yeah, and I Googled him for the first time in a while, and I guess apparently today he's been talking about how his exit wasn't necessary. Well, no kidding. No kidding. It took you 2 weeks to figure that out and to finally say that. I mean, no S that it wasn't necessary. Don't wish, like I said, any ill will on the guy. Hope he lives a healthy, drama-free life, but I know that's not going to be the case, and I hope that the actual real people around him, not that taxi driver that was just further feeding into Antonio Brown's ego that day. I hope there's less people like that around him and more people that actually care, but I've seen how he treats the people that he supposedly cares about, and that's a video I'm not going to forget, so... not rooting for the guy, but don't wish bad.
We've probably given him too much time, but Chris, we appreciate the question as well. The 4 o'clock hour is coming up next. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. There's another segment here. Phone lines are available, 254-339-1122. If you're a Baylor fan, what did you see last night that needs to be fixed besides something that might be obvious or something that maybe you think or you feel that hasn't been mentioned? And then also just Big 12 basketball. Can you imagine in a conference where every single time you play a game, you turn around and somebody's about to smash you in the face with another hammer? There's no break. There is no break. And it is tough. And you better be tough. And you better bounce back. And teams will. And everybody will face adversity along the way. And Baylor, this isn't adversity. It's just bouncing back from a loss because they haven't experienced one in over 300 days. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, they can find out what hurts so much that you can't sleep, function, you can't eat, you can't work. Torn ligament, muscle. I mean, it hurts. Not enough Advil, not enough Aleve, not enough even, I don't want this to be the case, painkillers to be able to get whatever that is in your shoulder or in your back or possibly parts of your leg that is just excruciating. And if your doctor wants you to get an MRI, you tell them that you want to go to idealmri.com and you tell them why. $497 or less every single time. Average MRI is $1,100, and theirs is $497 or less every single time. They will also help you with all of the paperwork filing for whatever else you can get deducted because of your insurance. They have the state-of-the-art technology MRI machine. I've been in it. There's not a long wait. And when your appointment might be at 9 o'clock or it's 4 o'clock or whatever o'clock it might be, you won't wait in a big, huge room with another 50 or 60 people. It's idealmri.com.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
Abram Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mack Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
4 o'clock hour includes at the end of the hour might be the most handsome smile on earth in JT Woods. Young man that came out of high school at Steele High School and just outside of San Antonio in Cibolo and was a turnover machine. And he's in Phoenix working out, getting ready for the NFL Players Association game, NFLPA All-Star game, and also the Combine, and also eventually the draft. Also, Baylor's defensive backfield. We've heard about some of the guys coming back on the offensive line, coming back line, whatever. Craig, anything else as far as anyone who can leave who might not be?
Yeah, well, today Mark Milton, Baylor corner, announced that with one of those graphics they've been putting out for every guy who's been announcing that he will be returning. He actually walked on Senior Day, so now Senior Day is something else we can just throw out the window that doesn't matter because it's not even accurate anymore. And I had wondered at the time, I paid particular attention that Saturday to who walked and who didn't, and who got introduced and all of that, and tried to kind of 2 + 2 = 4. That means this guy's probably gone. So I wasn't expecting Mark Milton to necessarily come back, but here he is, and he's going to be back. And, definitely a guy that got overshadowed at times by the rest of that secondary. I mean, Morgan and Woods and Barnes and Walcott and Tejada, and he's not a name that you probably mentioned in the first 5 defensive backs that you talk about, quite frankly, but he's a guy with a lot of experience now and will certainly be welcome back in a secondary that really looked like he was going to be riddled and they would have to just mass overhaul, replace the entire group. And instead, you've got your starting corners basically back next year with Mark Milton and Al Walcott. I mean, not exactly what you had this year, but I mean, pretty close to it. I mean, in terms of who your starting corners have been. So you add in Christian Morgan as well, who he put out a note last week that he was coming back, but it wasn't the graphic. And he hasn't put out a graphic since, and I haven't been looking, but he then deleted that tweet. So I don't know what's going on with that, but expecting him to be back, that means you'd have like 3/5 of your secondary if you count Jalen Petrie as kind of that hybrid role. But Lorando Johnson obviously played a lot this year, and he might be, eyeing Petrie's spot. So the point being, it's good to have Mark Milton back with all of his experience. He definitely has room to get better, and I think that he will with this coaching staff. But they're in a lot better shape secondary-wise than I expected them to be after this season was over with.
Did we mention Isaac Power yesterday?
Yeah, we did.
Kind of.
I did because of the fact, first of all, he was as much of a weapon as anybody. He was a field position flipper. He was as clutch as they've had at the punting position. And at times last year, he could rocket launch somebody and then also hit 133 yards. But I thought Isaac Power was just phenomenal, and he's coming back. And no reason he just coming back. He wants to be a part of it.
Well, I mean, it just makes sense for him too, really. And he was a phenomenal weapon and field flipper for them this year. Time and again, week after week, he was sailing, booming punts and flipping the field position or getting them out of a jam. And I think that's one of those that is probably not as celebrated because of the position that he plays. But I think for Baylor fans who paid attention, that was a big one. That was like, whoa, wait, Isaac Power's coming back, and how often do you say that about a punter? So that tells you the type of impact that he had. So, yeah, I mean, you look around and they are going to lose a lot of good players, and they're going to lose name players. And that's why, they'll probably start off low in the preseason next year again, just because I know there's a lot of excitement and wishful thinking happening around the league right now in terms of, transfers and coaching changes. And that's going to make everybody feel like, all right, next year's going to be better. And I wonder if Baylor sort of gets lost in the shuffle because people are going to look at them on paper and say, oh, well, they lose Jalen Petrie and they lose Terrell Bernard and they lose this guy and they lose that guy. And that's all very well and fair. But at some point, the program's got to get to where they're not rebuilding, they're reloading. And I do think they're going to reload a little bit at some of those spots. And you look around and their entire offensive line, save one guy, is coming back next year. That's absolutely massive. You obviously have some question marks elsewhere on that offense, but I mean, just for starters, for your line to be as intact as it is just incredible that you're going to have all those guys back. And then defensively, your whole D-line's coming back now. Basically, they've all made it official. So your D-line's going to be intact. So right there for starters, that's pretty good to have your O-line and your D-line pretty much 100% returning. And then you add in pieces like the secondary starting to take shape a little bit. And again, they're in a lot better shape than I expected them to be roster-wise. Still some guys that'll have to make decisions, the Josh Fleekses of the world. Like, where do they fit in ultimately? Some of these other young younger receivers, like, do they get passed over? Do they finally emerge? There's a lot of questions to be answered. The quarterback spot, like, what's Blake Shapen's health status? But I like them a lot going into the spring, and I think this has a chance to be another good team next year.
All right. If you would like to comment on that and whatever is, again, something that's top of mind with you, the line open at 254-339-1122. Armstrong, give me those text messages. We received these last night during the postgame show. This is from Jack in Dallas. Tough loss. Ball movement seemed to be off, whether it was Meyer taking an awkward bucket or not enough passes. Free throw shooting, not great. I thought there was a lot of breakdowns on the defense a couple of times. Late in the game, our players didn't switch too great. We'd have two guards moving to guard one in the three-point line while another was wide open. Also, when McCullough was wide open in the corner to give them their big lead after waving his hands in the air, we never saw and guarded him. He played with pain. Gutsy performance, hit a couple of critical threes. Also, don't understand how we've said turnovers has been the issue the past couple of games, but cannot seem to fix it. They had 14. I think Tech had 12. Bad passing. We need people to step up, create better shots. Time to press the reset button.
Well, and this staff is really good at hitting that reset button and finding. Look, I know that they'll be off today, relatively off today, a day after a game. But Thursday's practice, whatever the hot button issues are, that's pretty much what they're going to do.
Yeah, you would think so.
That's what, like, they're going to do it, and they're going to have it broken down. So, again, I think that fans should have such a faith in this staff to get it fixed. And it might not be, all of a sudden Oklahoma State, oh, look, they're getting, instead of, giving up the ball, they're all of a sudden plus 10. Probably not that, but I think they're good at gradually building and then getting that momentum and exploding. But part of it is just, I think a lot of this is just individual guys need to readjust to the roles that they have now. And, okay, you started doing this because we needed you to do this. Well, now this is the weakness that's being exploited, so let's pivot over this way.
Who has to adjust?
I think Jonathan Chachua. I think that Flo Thamba have to, the way that they're playing inside. I think that you heard Kendall Cowd say, Matthew Meyer's got to create some more offense. They need to let him create some more offense.
He killed them last night.
Let him be, do what you want to do a little bit, Matthew. Not, completely. Don't let him go back in there, but go create some offense.
I had somebody contact me that said, I never thought I would want to say go unneuter Matthew Meyer, but go let him be who he is. Right now, this team kind of needs that a little bit.
Well, and sometimes you can get in your head a little bit. You start thinking, okay, well, this is what I used to do that was bad. Well, maybe what the coaching staff is trying to tell you is combine it all.
Well, yeah, that's what you wanted from the beginning. And they right now, there's a little bit of and Texas Tech defense, of course, has a lot to do with this, just like Baylor's defense does too. And UT has a hell of a defense, and Kansas and whoever else. But somebody else get those 8 points when you maybe get normally 2 or 3, or somebody who gets 8 to 10, you need one night when they pop 15. Tech has done that the last couple of games for them when they needed somebody to step up, especially Saturday against Kansas.
Yeah, I think the dream would be that Scott Drew could somehow get a machine built, like a little joystick, to where he could, like, turn a dial for the speed that Matthew Meyer's going at. Like, sometimes dial it back just a little bit, like calm down a little bit. Yeah, I saw a lot of people last night, complaining that he can be a bit out of control. He can be a bit. He's like 2 seconds faster than he needs to be. I think Kendall might have actually been somebody who commented and said if he just played like at half the speed that he plays at sometimes, he would be perfect. But yeah, I think he's still figuring it out. I think the whole team's still figuring some things out. It's not the end of the world by any means you would think it is, though, based on some people's reactions. But just back to the drawing board. It's January 12th. They've got 2 months to figure this thing out, and figure this thing out is even probably putting too much weight on it. They've got 2 months to get back out there, win some games, put yourself in a good position for a great seed, go play in the tournament and, win some more games there and finish this bad boy strong. But yeah, it was a nice little wake-up call last night.
Here's another text from late last night. This was during the Ashley Hodges post-game show after the game with Texas Tech. It's from the area code of the 281. Armstrong, you got it? This is, again, in the text line. Gents, is it just me or is our home court advantage non-existent. My biggest gripe about this game, other than the obvious shortcomings of which you've commented, is the loudest thing I heard was the Texas Tech faithful chanting defense. Every other Big 12 arena seemingly puts the old Ferrell Center to shame thoughts. And I know that it's going to go down that same hamster or down that same rabbit hole, hamster wheel, whatever else. Jack, I hear the conflicting things here about the crowd. That there were Texas Tech fans, and they are very loud, and they are boisterous, and they should be, and they had a right to be, even when they were losing. But Jack, you were at the game. You can have what was it like in your opinion?
Honestly, the student section was pretty packed out, full of Baylor students, and the lower bowl was majority Baylor. But it's those tickets that almost never really get sold. That was mostly Tech fans. Like, they've got their section right behind their bench, but then up towards the rafters, it was Tech fans. And, I don't want to crap too much on Baylor fans maybe selling their tickets, because I don't even think that was the case for the most part. It was just a lot of very passionate Tech fans bought the tickets that Baylor fans never buy unless it is, number 1 versus number 2, Baylor and Kansas.
Yeah, I do think my only critique really is on the student sections. I just think they need to be a little more organized. Update the chants a little bit.
Oh yeah, but
refresh.
That's a rabbit hole we could go down.
But yes, but other than that, the student section was good last night, but it was again, we can go down the rabbit hole we want.
I think the students have been great the last. Especially with I know COVID had a lot to do with parts of last year, but I think the student section, again, they're just now going back to school in about a week, right?
I texted my friend. They've got sorority rushes going on, so they're back around. But I texted some of my friends after the game saying even working the game, that's the most fun I've ever had at a loss.
Good.
Maybe it was just because I got to be courtside taking pictures, but it was a good environment. I don't want to really fault Baylor fans on that.
Should be a good environment. Should be a great environment. Saturday, 4:00, Oklahoma State. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. Paul?
All right, let's go back to the BetUS car line. And Diane, thanks for your call.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I wasn't able to go to the game last night, unfortunately. What was good, though, is that the first couple of people that I tried to give my tickets to already had their own tickets and couldn't take them. So I ended up giving Fuentes, who always can find a home for tickets.
Oh, yeah.
But even though I wasn't there, I was able to, take a couple of notes. And I think this game's going to be, you've already talked about it, it's going to be unbelievable how much experience these guys are going to get out of this game. They did the same things that we've been complaining about for the last 2 weeks, but they just won, still doing those bad things. And this time they couldn't do the bad things and still win. Ball security. It's just nonchalant, sloppy passes resulting in turnovers. Maybe now that they've lost, they'll figure they can't do that all the time. Free throws. What can we say? We had a couple at the end that could have won the game. Toughness. Brown needs to get into the weight room, man. But he just avoids contact sometimes. He reminds me of Matthew Meyer when he was a freshman, except for Brown makes his shots where Matthew didn't. I just really think in the long run that the experience that they take away from this game is that these are the things that their coaches have probably been telling them. We've certainly been telling them that they need to tighten up a little bit. But as long as you're doing those things and still winning, who cares? Now that they can attribute those to a loss, they need to adjust and move forward. That's my observations. Thanks, guys.
Diane, good to hear from you. Day one listener and viewer. Diane, thanks for your call on Baylor men's basketball and Texas Tech last night. 254-339-1122. From Aaron, Baylor, the number 1 overall team in the Big 12. Tech has the best defense in the Big 12. We all saw it last night. Baylor will be fine. Will be a number 1 seed in the end. Probably still win the conference outright. You can almost book that. Let's see. There's the part of it just depends. I don't know what the pecking order is. It's too early to really care because there's so many games left.
Yeah, it's January.
14 games to go or whatever it is in the
January 12th.
Yeah.
So
that's why I definitely think and great call, Diane. I think you pointed out a lot of the things that they're probably talking about in meeting rooms today. But that's why I'm not sitting here like, oh my gosh, I cannot, it's January 12th. If they go out and lose Oklahoma State, then I'll have a different tone after that. If they drop a couple in a row and then they lose to somebody they really have no business losing to in Oak State, and that's no disrespect. It's just I would expect Baylor to win that game, but if they don't, and it's some of the same issues crop up, then yeah, maybe you sound the alarms a little more. But I want to see them off a loss for the first time in a while, and then judge it from there rather than get too up in arms about, the one result last night.
Yeah, and I think that fans needed to, have a historical context to things. Like there was a time where good Baylor teams, a Baylor team that made it to the Sweet 16, as a matter of fact, lost 6 straight games in conference, and there was a time we thought, oh man, they're not going to make it. Yeah. They're not going to make it to the tournament. And this team, I don't think is capable of losing 6 straight games unless they have massive injuries, So there's a difference. They lost a game.
Well, if you saw the reaction, and you can get used to it. I mean, winning is very
addictive.
Yeah, very much so.
It's one of those things that you win enough,
and
you can't understand why. Like there are Alabama fans walking around the streets today going, I don't get it. I don't understand. Because you've won so much, you can't wrap your head around why you lose. And sometimes it's just you lose. You can't win all the time. Nobody wins them all. Some people get close, but nobody wins them all. And so don't get to that point where you just, when your team loses, that you're just going, but we win.
And I don't think there's too many people that are like that. I think mostly just people are just, upset, feel like they had an opportunity to win that game. Like she said, make some free throws. I mean, for how long free throws been an issue? I mean, that's been something that's been for a while.
I am still to this day, and I was still surprised that it didn't hurt them last year at least once.
No, it's been there and, out in the open for a while. Like there's times where they're not very good at hitting their free throws, and you're right. I mean, they very easily could have been a team last year who lost in the tournament because they didn't make their free throws at the end. But yeah, everything just kind of came together. So that's just one of many areas that she pointed out and others have pointed out that they've got to get better if they want to be the team that is sitting there with that number 1 ranking hanging around their neck and, being talked about like champions and all of that. Well, that was last year. This is a different team. This is the reigning defending program, but it's not the same team. And so, if they want to get to that point, they've got to get better in a few different areas. I think that they will. I think this coaching staff will certainly make sure that they do. But, will that still be good enough to beat Texas Tech a second time around or good enough to go win a Big 12 title? I don't know. I mean, that's going to be tough. And that's still going to be tough for Tech. Like, it's not as though they've booked their spot in the championship game now. They got to keep winning, and they look like they're well on their way to doing that. But we got a long way to go. A lot of things to be figured out over these next couple of months. But I do think that it kind of, puts you kind of reboots your system a little bit to where you take that first loss and you're like, okay, now we've done that. Now the streak's over. Now all the winning has come to a stop. Now let's regroup, reorganize, and get back to how we got here in the first place. And I'd expect him to do that.
They weren't going to run the table. I know that that's always the possibility, but they weren't. And I think it's even a little bit silly. I think you can say this now. And I always kind of a little bit nervous about when I heard that this team might be better than last year's team. If they are, well, that will be amazing because last year's team was dominant. 2 losses last year. One of them, in fact, a couple of them when they were coming off a pretty long range of COVID. I thought that was a little bit ahead of itself when I heard that a little bit, maybe a week or 2 ago. And okay. Here's one question I have. Baylor last night, they were 7 of 13 at the free throw line or 7 of 12, whatever. Texas Tech was 5 of 7. And Warren, he did not make a shot, but he hit 2 free throws, and he could not have shot. There's not a prettier pair of free throws ever for Tech. He hit the back flat part of the rim. The net doesn't even move. So Baylor shot 12 or 13 free throws last night. They were 3 of 7 against TCU, and I'm not going to go back even further than that. But they're not getting to the line, and I know that we heard Kendall say sometimes they don't seem to get to the line a lot. But that also could be a problem of why you're not getting to the line because you're not taking the ball to the rack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go. Yeah, they're great at shooting threes, so they're not going to stop shooting threes. They're one of the best at it. So, but again, nobody really fouls you out there unless they're just stupid. Or
out of position.
Yeah,
and
nobody fouls you out there. So, take the ball to the rack, get some free throws, and then, what was the game? Was it TCU where they didn't shoot a free throw until about 8 minutes left in the game?
Yeah.
You're like, well, how's that even possible?
Against Oklahoma, they were 16 of 20, so they did have a lot of free throws in that game against OU about a week or so ago.
I know that Mac Rhodes and Scott Drew would hate for me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway just because I don't have to look at it the way that they do. They always got to constantly be building and building and building and building, and you can never really take your foot off the gas. But can we just take a moment now that the streak is over to appreciate what the last year has been like, and even going back farther than last year? I mean, can we just not look at that loss last night for a moment and realize what we're talking about?
I would think that should be the case anyway.
The number of shows that we did over the years, and you guys did even more than I did, but coming off of, 2 losses in a row or not making the tournament or whatever. And that, look, I'm not – and the reason why Scott Drew and Mac Rhodes in particular probably hate this because it's like, oh, well, that was – it's kind of just jumping over – I'm not trying to, avoid the loss at all, but now that everybody can kind of take a breather and that winning streak is over – it is quite amazing what has taken place over the last year.
That's why it's so hard to
freaking believable. Yeah, people can't even accept it because it's been so good for so long, and it's still got the opportunity to continue being that way, and it should continue to be that way. But yeah, it's funny to me to kind of. There were a lot of losses in the past that people would just get frustrated over or pissed at or whatever, and it was part of the deal. And now people are frustrated or pissed because they haven't seen it happen in such a long time. So I just think that's kind of amazing and speaks to the run of success that hopefully everybody has appreciated and enjoyed along the way and not taken for granted.
There are some on the chat room, Marcus Emmert. It amazes me how bad sometimes Division I players are shooting free throws.
Yeah.
I watch, and this is me, I think sometimes free throws are boring to players. Like Matthew Meyer was 1 of 4 at the free throw line. I think he goes to the free throw line, and I actually believe, and this is not picking on him, although he obviously last night was not all that good. And yet he's the reason why they also won a national championship.
But NBA Hall of Famers who refuse to get better at it.
It's almost as if that is just boring to them. Damn, I got to shoot a free, boom. But when Adam Flagler misses them, who last year I think maybe hit more clutch free throws than anybody during their run in the tournament, then, obviously it's just one of those nights. All right, when we come back, more from the chat room. We have J.T. Woods, Baylor safety, who's now getting ready for the NFL. He'll join us at 4:45. 254-339-1122. Sick 'em. 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Right now, select, choice, and prime ribeye steaks are on sale. $12.99 a pound for select, choice at $15.99 a pound, and my goodness, the prime ribeye, which is just all of them mouth-watering delicious, for $25.99. I have not grilled a steak, and it's been quite a bit of time. Obviously, last week I didn't feel like eating anything. But I'm looking forward to the next time I could put one of those big, thick, bone-in ribeyes on the grill and enjoy it. And hopefully by the time I get to the weekend, I'll be able to do that. I've got a deep freeze, and in that deep freeze, I've got probably a couple of dozen bone-in ribeyes that are 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches thick, and I cannot wait to put those on the grill this weekend. Also, they have pork steaks on sale for $1.99 a pound. My father-in-law used to absolutely love cooking pork steaks and did an incredible job with those. That's when I first really started to enjoy them. Those are $1.99 a pound. Country-style pork ribs at $1.99 a pound as well. They have pork tenderloin, sliced chicken breast, the real thin type, for $2.50 a pound. Great for cooking, great for putting in a salad or even stir-fry. And country-style ring sausage at $2.25 a pound. Waco Custom Marketplace, full-blown butcher shop and bakery at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is it. This is when you're going to sell something in May. You have Mother's Day. You have Easter. You have things that go on, weddings. But this is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did an estate yesterday, and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Armstrong, do you have the tweet about Gary Patterson and Sonny Dykes? So, Paul, where is Patterson's now at Texas, right? He's going to be an analyst?
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, so.
All right. He was a long time. Here's an interesting note. I'm told that by mistake, Sonny Dykes, who's now the head coach where Gary Patterson was, ended up with Gary Patterson's iPad at the TSA check while leaving the AFCA convention in San Antonio. Would explain why I heard would Gary Patterson and Sonny Dykes come to the security desk over the loudspeakers while waiting for my plane. You think, Sonny maybe hip check Gary found his iPad.
Gary probably blocked him on Twitter afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, really, what are the odds?
Given the last time that they were in the same place at the same time and how awkward that game ended.
Oh, my Lord.
I wonder, it was like, hey.
You and Coach Kill was run over by the entire SMU football team.
And now I have your job. So this is weird. And your iPad. So, sorry about that. Best of luck in future endeavors. See you never.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that looks a little bit weird. But
it does beg the question, though. I wonder, Gary Patterson as an analyst. There are some guys who can step into that role and be fine with it. Do you think that you can let him sit?
Have you heard him?
Oh, no. No, an analyst for coaching staff.
Oh, okay.
A coaching staff analyst.
Because on television, that coach's room, film room, he's fantastic.
Well, yeah.
And I saw most of a lot that was going on Monday night was people wondering, where the hell's Gary Patterson?
As a coaching analyst, as that, I wonder how content he's going to be to sit in the room, especially when, and look, he's not wrong. Most of the time, especially when it comes to defense, he's got the best idea. But the minute that he sends that idea down and they don't take it, how's he going to react to that?
I don't know. I mean, they've been talking. I mean, he's going to end up at Texas, it looks like, and I just don't know what the holdup is. They've been talking about it now for weeks at this point and alluding to it. And O'Shawn Mathis is probably going to end up at Texas, and maybe even some other TCU guys. That's kind of the way people are looking at it right now, which that would be kind of a bad look for TCU or not a bad look for them, but just to be a bad deal to not only, be changing coaching staffs, but then as a result of that, the guy who was your greatest coach of all times now still in the league, playing for the team that everybody hates worse than anybody else, and also now taking your best players. But that's the reality of college football and the transfer portal and all of that. So, yeah, I just don't know what the holdup is because all signs point to him ended up in Austin. And I'm sure, money talks, not that he probably needs it, but, he can go write his country songs and do his music thing and not have as much of a stress on his life as being a head coach is. So it might be a good thing. It might be a great thing where he can just do football stuff and not have to worry about all the other crap that comes with it, from hitting the recruiting trail or, worrying about the transfer portal. He can just sit there and look at X's and O's all day. So I don't think it would be something that probably tides him over for the remainder of his career by any means. But, as far as a 1-year stopgap or whatever, I mean, it would make sense, and it would obviously be a good hire for Texas. Can't beat them, hire them, kind of a deal. And we've seen them do that over and over again to no avail, really. But maybe this is the time that it works out. I know that, the ball's rolling this offseason, and they're remaking that roster, and there's already, that typical, we've seen it every year for the last decade, and it's not made any bit of difference. But, there is that momentum building up. So if they were able to land Gary Patterson, I think that would be a great deal for their defense. They certainly need help on the defensive side, and he could provide that.
Well, there's no one that can rally the troops during the offseason than Texas. No one better than what they've done with the recruiting classes and the hype and players back.
I mean, if you didn't have that, what would you have? You wouldn't have anything else. So, the offseason for some is the best season of the year because you can't lose. And you only get wins in the transfer portal, and any losses you have is, a commit picks Bama versus you or something. But outside of that, I mean, the offseason, if you had, the thing is if you have a bad offseason, then what are you doing? Because you shouldn't have a bad offseason. And, I mean, you should only be, you lose players. I mean, that's going to be a part of the deal, and sometimes you lose coaches. But if that's not going on, then everybody should be hyped up for next season. I mean, Baylor has every reason to be hyped up for next season. Tech's obviously going all on the...
The difference is that other teams reload as well. Everybody does that.
Sure.
But you hear more about their hype train because of their media outlets, and they know what they're doing. They send out these messages to the fan base, et cetera, and all that. And like you said, for a decade, for the most part, they've checked out.
Yeah, I mean, what would the fan base get excited about recently? I mean, they did have the Sugar Bowl win a couple years ago. We kind of just tossed that to the side like it didn't happen, but Tom Herman did do that, and that was just kind of just brushed aside because they were so ready to get rid of him quickly after that. But I mean, the offseason is for hype and for build up, and so this is typical. This is the same thing that's happened every January for the last 10 Januaries, and it's just like who ultimately makes the moves that actually work. not what looks sexy on paper or what's exciting, with the stars next to their name. Like, can those guys come in and actually do the work and fit in and get coached right and execute? That's been the missing piece. And so we saw Baylor be a team that could do that. Oklahoma State was a team that could do that last year. Oklahoma to an extent. And, you can have an offseason of hype, and then you can be Iowa State, and so that's really what it boils down to is results. But yeah, they got a lot of good news coming in right now.
All right, we will come back with JT Woods, Baylor safety, who's now in Phoenix getting ready for a lot of different things as the NFL draft is coming up. Craig mentioned earlier Mark Milton is coming back, one of the Baylor cornerbacks. He's coming back for another year, and that's a good deal. They need that as well. There was the Gary Patterson, Sonny Dykes deal. Let me see. There's, I think, one more text or two, Paul. We got to take a break here?
Yeah, we do.
All right, when we come back, JT Woods, Baylor safety, on getting ready for his next chapter of football. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. Of course, it's been kind of crazy with supply chain issues, but cars and trucks are coming, and if you've been waiting to buy a new GMC, Buick, or Cadillac, now's the time to contact Richard Carr Motors. Richard Carr is receiving deliveries of new cars and trucks each week, so get on their inbound vehicle list, and you can get your new car or truck as they arrive. Plus, if you buy a car now, get 0% financing for 72 months for qualified buyers. If you're looking for a truck, the best truck on the road is the GMC Sierra. It's got it all. Available 277 horsepower engine, best-in-class cargo bed volume and head and leg room, plus a luxury interior and ride that compares to a luxury sedan. Richard Carr has Sierras in stock with more on the way. Most trucks are at 0% for 72 months for qualified buyers. Maybe you're in the market for an SUV. Well, they've got 11 different models with dozens of trim options to choose from. They're a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs, whether it's a fun and nimble Buick Encore or the sophistication and luxury of a Cadillac Escalade. Richard Carr has the SUVs you need, so call now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family. Trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab blood work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Former Baylor safety JT Woods. He's in Arizona training, getting ready for the upcoming workouts and all of what happens between now and the NFL draft, and of course the combine and much more. And thanks for your time. How much does your body kind of enjoy the break, even though I know you're grinding already? How much of not playing one week after another have you kind of been able to heal?
Definitely. Fortunately, I was blessed enough to not have many, serious injuries this season. So just the major issues that I've had kind of going throughout the season, just fatigue from playing, a 14-game season. So just having this 2 weeks off of, not running into another human being has been pretty nice.
But you've played in 13, you've played in 12, I'm sure you've played in, obviously, 9, and then this year you played in 14 games. What about the extra games and the toll on your body? And could you see with the expanded playoff they're talking about 15 or 16 games?
I could definitely see that, as the game has been evolving, players evolve. So we're coming into an era where you're starting to see, just greater athletes that are able to play longer durations, longer games. I just give a lot of credit to Coach Aranda and the strength staff and all the coaching staff because they really looked out for us, towards the end of the season, cutting back on reps, cutting back on practices. We weren't in full pads as much. So I think a lot of it is a give and take. Not every practice has to be full speed, running into a wall, helmets, full pads. You can get very, very productive work just out of shorts and a T-shirt. So I think it's learning how to, practice like a pro, even though you're not on a pro level.
Where is this program, JT, now? You've seen them in the Sugar Bowl twice, winning the last one, playing for a Big 12 title twice, winning the last one. What is the standard for Baylor football?
Not specifically towards Baylor football, but just Baylor athletics. The standard is to win, and that doesn't matter if it's a regular season game, a conference game, an out-of-conference game, a playoff game. It's just the expectation is that we are a school of winners, and I think everybody has been playing their part, whether it be basketball, tennis, equestrian, track is getting ready to start up, and then, football coming off of the season that we've had. I think we started to solidify the fact that Baylor University is a school of winning.
What was the difference, in your opinion, this year? What was the difference other than the obvious there was a true offseason, all of that? Mm-hmm. What kick-started this team?
I think the biggest factor was just the desire to win. I think from a very early state, we knew the potential that we had, and even in that COVID year, going 2-7, there was a lot of upside that we, a lot of people that are on the outside looking in couldn't see, but us being within the organization really knew. And it was just, we had to tap into our potential. So I think, going into the offseason, we really, really harped on being an elite team and, just speaking those things into existence day in and day out, worked really hard. We held everybody accountable, leaders led, role players played their role, just everybody doing their part so that we could be one cohesive, functioning machine.
Everybody seems to say that. You guys did it. How hard is it to say it but follow up and like you said, holding each other accountable? It's one thing to say it but actually do it.
It's incredibly hard. It's very, very hard to win football games in college football, and let alone to win a bunch of in a row, to win your conference, to win a big-time, bowl game as well. So, but a lot of that stuff started in January. We all see the success that we had January of this year, but all that started January of last year. Just working on the small things. That was really the biggest thing. Coach Aranda, we kind of brought us all together, and we went to the drawing boards, and he said, look, what kind of team do you guys want? Do you want a coach-led team? Do you want a players-led team? And he gave us a lot of freedom to do that, and I think that was really big because it gave us the opportunity to sit back and say, this is what we want as a team. This is what we can achieve. This is what we know we can achieve. And Coach Aranda gave us the resources to do so. So it was a lot of trust, a lot of hard work, and a lot of effort. And, sometimes a lot of people don't want to admit it, but you can get lucky sometimes. You might get a call here or there that could really change the outcome of the game. So it's really a lot that goes into it.
He mentioned that he actually had some of you go to him and say, no, you need to be tougher on us. You need to be more outspoken with us. And we know he is who he is. He's a unique guy. What was that conversation like?
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Aranda is a very he's very different. He knows what he knows, and he's not going to be very vocal about the things that he puts forth. But I give credit to him because he went and he got Coach Vic and all the other guys from LSU who knew how he was, and he was able to use them as a microphone to get what he wanted. And so, and obviously, us as players coming to him and talking to him about the things that we wanted too, it was very big for him to really open up his heart, open up his mind, and really just trust us, like I said earlier. And I think that, when you have a coach that really puts trust in you and really believes that you can do what you want to do, and you see him, making changes, getting out of his comfort zone to do things, like you're going to run through a wall for that person. So you just saw a lot of guys playing a lot harder for him. Very, very good coach. Obviously, great defensive mind. So if you want to learn about football, you'd be crazy to not want to listen to him about X's and O's. So I just think all of those things put together just really made our relationship as a team much better with him as well.
Yeah, he is different. Have you ever met anyone like him at all? The way Dave Aranda, his analogies, his children's books, or people he brings up. How different? How long did it take you to get to know him?
It didn't take long. He's very upfront about how he is, and I applaud him for that. He's not going to change who he is for anybody. He's going to be true to himself. That's what you want out of a head coach. Sure. Somebody that's going to be honest and somebody that's going to be true to themselves. So very early on, I learned how he was going to be, and I really appreciated that. But he never fails to amaze me to bring up, just quotes from. It could be anybody. It could be King Louis V, but it'd be a relevant quote, and it would make sense. And he would know how to translate that stuff and just get everybody motivated.
You're involved. You're getting ready. You've got all this stuff happening over the next couple of months, the draft later on. What have you been told? What are your expectations?
So, by the grace of God, I got my combine invite, so I will be attending the combine. So just kind of doing everything that I can to do to just perform and show my athleticism at the combine. As you've seen, I've accepted my invite to the NFLPA bowl game, so getting ready to head to that in a couple weeks here at the end of January. So just, small steps, step by step, just working on my craft, making sure that the things that I had been taught in my 4 years at Baylor, just sharpening those tools.
You are a ball hawk. There's no question about it. What you did in the Sugar Bowl, what you did in the opening game, what you do, that's what you do. pick up, scoop, and score 90-something yard, picks for touchdowns, and all the things you do. You almost had a fumble and caused fumble in the Sugar Bowl. When did that kind of become part of just who you were as a football player?
That side of me has always been there. I just had to let loose a little bit. This was a really big season for me because for the first time in my career, I actually, just trusted myself. I sat myself down and said, look, you're a good football player, and you are, so just go play like you are. And so I was really able to play freely this season. And a lot of that is credit due to my teammates. They allowed me to have fun each and every down that I played. And so when you're having fun, it doesn't seem like work. It doesn't seem like it's hard. I was literally just out there running around playing football with my best friends. So it just came easy. I was just able to be myself, be free. And then it helped also, a second year in that Coach Roberts' defense. So I was able to play a little bit faster as well because I knew the defense a lot better.
A lot of people discuss the defense with Dave Aranda, with what he does, and there's others on staff as well. But how sneaky, he's a longtime veteran. The caginess, the veteran of Ron Roberts and what he brings to the table.
It's something that I've seen in very few coaches. I think he knows the success that he's had, and he trusts the success that he's had. But the most important thing is he puts his guys in positions to make plays. He understands his players. He understands their strengths, their weaknesses, and he kind of molds the defense around the players. And I think that's why we were able to be so successful this year defensively, just because of his ability to do that.
How much you going to miss Jalen Petrie or Terrell Bernard and others that you've been hanging with for quite some time? And heck, you might end up seeing them in the NFL. You might be a teammate. Who knows how things go? But how about this group? You've spent so many ups and downs and parts of the journey of being a part of Baylor football.
Those are my brothers. They're always going to be a part of my family to the day that I die. It's going to be a little hard not being on the same field as them, but hopefully one day we can either be on the same team or on opposing teams, get a jersey swap. But I wish nothing for the best for every single one of those players that was on that field and that has been on the field with me. Like I said, those are my brothers. In my mind, we're family. We're blood. So I just can't wait to see what those guys are going to get into as well as we get closer to this draft day.
JT, you always seem to have this amazing smile. I mean, it lights up a room. Whether you're doing a media session, you're at practice, a game, whatever. I'm sure even now you're just kind of chilling in Arizona. It's just a gorgeous smile. When was the first time somebody said you have a beautiful smile?
It's actually funny. So I used to not be a big smiler because I had huge teeth. I had to kind of grow into my teeth. But my mom said a long time ago, I had braces when I was in the 7th grade. And right when I got my braces off, she said, look, boy, I paid a lot of money for that smile, so you better show those teeth off. So ever since then, I've been making sure that I'm doing my mom's wishes. I'm showing off the smile that she paid for.
JT, from Cibolo Steele High School to Baylor University and now getting ready for the NFL, what would you say about your time as a football player, student athlete, as a person, as a young man at Baylor University?
I would definitely say I learned that it's not about where you're at, but the people that you're around. I've met so many just interesting people just in my short, 4 years is a really short time in the grand scheme of things of life. And just in my short 4 years at Baylor University, I've met so many people, had so many friends, learned so many things from so many wise people. So just learning to be a sponge about the people that are around you, getting to know them. That's partially why I ended up studying in sociology, just because I learned that people are so interesting and I just wanted to study them. And so just learning about the interactions that I learned with the people around me, my teammates, teachers, students, even when I was running track, the track athletes, getting to know all the other athletes, that's just the biggest thing that I took away from it. And then not to mention, I'm leaving with a degree from one of the most prestigious universities in the world. So what more could you ask for?
Can't ask for much more. You've been able to take advantage of it. You've been a part of it. JT, good luck with what you're doing in the NFLPA game and also the Combine and much more. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
JT Woods, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Look, if you want to talk customer service and you walk in, you don't really know, you kind of think you have an idea, like, I want to get some gin. They'll tell you all the best gins that they have. I kind of want to get some whiskey. I kind of want to get this. They will lead you in the right direction. They have craft beer that is second to none. Their selection of craft beer in Waco, second to none that they have in that great walk-in fridge. Also, their high-end bourbons, fantastic. Wherever it is, the high-end bourbons, Bardstown, Brush Creek, any of that stuff, they've got it there for you at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And look, if you don't want to go in the store, if you know what you need and you got to get it real quick, the drive-through window is very expedient, so fast, and they'll take care of you there. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment, and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers, and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Football coach, man, legend, icon, Grant Teaff with us, Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and joins us here on this early part of the 2022 year. I know it's been a while since Baylor played, won the Sugar Bowl, finished with more wins than any team ever. Your thoughts about how they finished the year and they didn't settle, they weren't just happy to get to the Big 12 title or even win that, but they wanted more.
Well, of course, that is the sign of a very fine coaching staff that carried them through those periods of days when they were off and waiting for the bowl game and the preparation of the bowl game and then the execution. That all goes to your coaches, and then the determination of the players, that they wanted to make this a very special year, which they did. And, when you have that combination and you have the talent that Baylor has, you're going to be pretty darn successful. And you got to have a little good luck to go along with it these days because everybody's pretty good. And but we've got a terrific coaching staff. I think Aranda is special. He's one of the finest men you'll ever want to know. Plus, he's a tremendous football coach.
He seems to be very unique, and sometimes he'll quote. Who knows? Yesterday he quoted a famous poet and a writer at the convention. He's also mentioned children's books as an analogy on how things work and struggles or adversity. Is he about as unique as you've ever seen or heard?
Yeah, no doubt about it, and I think that's the mark of an individual, that they can be unique and still be very, very successful in a game that's totally not unique. It's blocking, tackling, not having penalties, all of those things that it takes to make up a great team. Plus, on the college level, you got to be able to know what kind of players to recruit and then be able to get them. And so my hat's off to Dave Aranda and his entire staff. They've just done a marvelous job, and what a fine representation he is of Baylor University.
It seems like, Coach, that he has complete control of the football program. Mack Rhodes is obviously heavily involved with what he does, but that Dave knows what he wants, that he has the ability to make what changes. You obviously remember what he did immediately after 2-7 with the offensive changes with Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos, and brought in a new wide receivers coach from Clemson, that he is never satisfied and he doesn't just get complacent. What does that say about him?
Well, that's the mark of a great individual in any enterprise, whether it be coaching or business or the industry and world of industry. That's just a great mark. Never satisfied, always trying to improve and get better. And along the same, while you're doing that, be the kind of person that moms and dads out there that you're having to recruit can admire and respect you, and that you can be the kind of leader that can lead a coaching staff and be complete control when necessary and give control when it's appropriate. He just has all those unique characteristics, and I just think the world of him as a man and certainly as a football coach.
Your daughter Lane shared me a picture that she had. It showed Aranda when he took that big bath, the Gatorade bath after the win, and he never flinched. He kind of clenched his fists. He never flinched, and it's just kind of that, man, like what the emotions or lack of them when they stopped Oklahoma State to win the game.
Smoak, I think that's a very good representation of what I'd call a man of steel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do not flinch.
Do you remember the first time anybody poured Gatorade on your head?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I sure do. And it happened to be very cold, I think, that day, which was down toward the end of the season. It may have been first time Baylor had beaten Texas in a jillion years, and it may have happened then. I don't remember the exact date, but it was cold weather, I can tell you that.
Baylor is accumulating. You had some dogs on defense. Everyone knows about whether it's, Mike Singletary or whoever you had, Thomas Everett and Van McElroy, names like you had a bunch, but you had dogs inside on the defensive line. You had some dudes, and they are now not only having dudes, but they're now replacing them, and then some of them are coming back. What about the depth do you think that Coach Aranda is building on that defensive front?
Well, you have to have depth. You might can get by without it for a little while, but eventually on this level of play, you've got to have depth, and you've got to have quality depth, not just bodies to fill in to positions. And that's the real key of successful programs across the country, particularly those that are well known, and you know who they are. They can recruit year after year after year, so they build up that depth that they have to have, so that if a problem happens where you get 2 or 3 injuries, then they've got young people that may be just as good or better than the ones that they have playing. So, that's the real key to continued success, and that's what we're talking about. Getting to a point where year after year, Baylor University is picked at the top beginning of the year and ending close to the top at the end of the year.
You saw what Georgia did late Monday night, beat Alabama. It was kind of a game that took a while to get going, and then all of a sudden both started to have some pretty good plays, and Georgia wins it. Kirby Smart beats his former coach, and Georgia's first title since Vince Dooley in 1980 with the great Herschel Walker when they beat Notre Dame. What do you think that meant for Coach Dooley?
Oh, it meant a tremendous amount because he and Donnell and I and his wife Barbara, we've been friends through all these years and still remain so. And he loves those Georgia Bulldogs, and he is atypical of a Georgia Bulldog with that good old Southern drawl of his. He's very typical and loved and deeply respected over there in Georgia and throughout the Southeast, I might add. And it had to be very pleasing to him, as it was to a lot of folks, I'm sure, across the country that supported Georgia.
I don't know if anyone loves college football as much or more than you do. I know that's what you did forever after you coached the game because of you were in charge of the AFCA. My question to you is, college football right now has a lot going on, Coach. They've got the transfer portal that's wide open. They have the NIL. They have so much that's going on right now. Coaches leaving mid-season because of the early signing period. If you could for one day wave a magic wand, what would you do?
Well, I tell you what, it's gotten a little bit, in my opinion, out of control, and I would try to put some controls back on it. Logical, common sense, good, solid, sound controls. I think the transfer portal is something that is bad for college athletics in general. But, because, part of what you learn in football is the ability to stick with it. And it may take 1 or 2 or 3 years of sticking with it. And then all of a sudden, you're that top guy out there in your position, and you're playing on a championship team that's been built. Well, I fear that this easy way out is going to change a lot of that. If I'm, go somewhere and I'm not happy for the first semester or the second semester about where I'm playing and what the future looks like for me, I'll just change. And that's not teaching the things that I believe that we should teach. On the other hand, people will say that, young people ought to have the right to choose, and I understand some of that, but it doesn't totally go along with the things that you try to teach in football. That stickability, make it where you are, succeed, and continue to try.
Let me ask you this. You have been a part of many committees and led many of them, but it's kind of, I've always wondered this. If you're stuck, whoever's making decisions, whether it's in sports or whatever, politics or, as you mentioned before, just business, if you have people who are given the task to fix something or to solve something and they can't do it, does that mean you have the wrong people, or are they too selfish to do what's best for the overall picture rather than what's important their school or for them?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, and we don't have enough time for me to answer it right now because I've been in the middle of it for a good portion of my life, and I've seen the genuine caring concern that men and women have in administration and as head coaches in meetings of trying to make the right decision that's best for the student athlete. Doesn't always come out that way in many cases, but I do believe this, that the NCAA and those committees underneath them are run by solid, sound, caring, very smart, football-wise, in our case, of football committees, of knowing what they're doing and what they believe at the time is the best thing for the student-athlete and the game. And I've always, in every committee I was ever in charge of, the first thing I said is that we do what's right and best for the student-athlete. Not what's best for the school in particular, but what is best for the student-athlete. And if committees continue that, and I think most of them certainly will and do, you're going to always come out on a good, solid side.
Coach Teaff, a couple more things. We mentioned David Aranda, philosophical, what he's leaned on, who he's quoted. You, I know, because of the history of your family and the Native Americans and the Indian nation, you're an historian when it comes to that because of how it tied into your family. Did you ever preach things or say things you learned from studying the American Indians?
Oh, sure, certainly. Yeah, there's a lot of things in life that parallel the teachings of some of the great nations, Indian nations across America. And, they were individuals that lived in the wilderness and on the frontier and had to make do with what they had. They couldn't run down to the hardware store and get what they needed. And so that's the thing that's always fascinated me, is about their ability to not only lead their particular tribe or nation, as sometimes referred to, but also to be creative and create the tools that they had to have to be successful in life, just survive.
One more thing. Coach Fredenberg retired, won a national championship. You know, if anyone, how dominant he was in his time at University of Mary Hardin Baylor, taking that from day one. Your thoughts about the career he ended up with?
Well, I brought Pete in out of high school on my staff at Baylor, and he turned out to be exactly what I thought he would be. An excellent coach. Coach Fredenberg is down to earth. There's nothing fancy tied into his approach to the game. It's good, solid, rock correct, and he's just a tremendous guy with a wonderful family. His wife is a tremendous coach's wives and leads his staff's wives, every year. It's just been a great pleasure for me. I brought him out of high school, and to see him achieve the success he's achieved on the college level.
College football, we got to wait a long time for it to get back to playing again in August, but it was one heck of a year. Coach, thank you very much. Enjoy the early part of winter, and I hope to see you very soon.
Okay, good to talk to you.
Grant Teaff, the Hall of Famer, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, we are now joined by one of the most dynamic players in college football, Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. He is one of 5 finalists for the annual Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. They'll honor that and have the banquet tonight. And Tyler and Deuce Vaughn joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Deuce, thanks for your time. What does it mean to you to be a part of this list, of this award?
Man, it's big time to see my name next to Earl Campbell and then the guys that are also up for this award tonight, big time football players in the college football award that we're in right now. For my name to be displayed right there, it's unbelievable. It's unreal.
Deuce, I know a lot is made of your size. 5'6", 172. You're not a big guy, but you play big. You don't play like you're 5'6", 172. What is it with Kansas State and guys your size and how they flourish in Manhattan at running back?
Man, of course, whenever you hear 5'6" running backs, you think of Darren Sproles and what he's done here at Kansas State, and then on to his time in the NFL, 15 years that he played there. Man, I couldn't really put it into words exactly how it works, but he's somebody that I looked up to. He's the blueprint. In all in all, he's the blueprint to come to his alma mater and play the way that I've played. Now got to talk to him, gotten to get tips and gain advice from him, what he did throughout his time in college and into the NFL. Man, it's been really, really cool to be able to be on this path and kind of almost replicate what he's been able to do.
Deuce, you guys got the win over LSU in the bowl game to finish off 8-5. You had a big game with 3 touchdowns and nearly 150 yards, but your quarterback, Skylar Thompson, also had a massive day. Just how big was that for the program to get that win, finish this season on a high note, but also how big was it to see Skylar Thompson, who's been through so much, be able to go out on a note like that?
It was big in both of us. Starting with Skylar, he's our quarterback. He's somebody that has been a leader, a mentor to myself ever since I got into Kansas State. He's been a mentor and a leader for everybody in this program. And to send him out on that type of note, a big-time win against a big-time program on national television was really, really big for his legacy. He deserves every single bit of that. And then for the program, it's just like a momentum shift. Going into the offseason with a big-time win, like I said, against a big-time opponent, it gives us hope to a great off-season, getting ready for this 2022 season, which starts in about a week. Whenever classes start, you get into the off-season phase. To have this win, it really, really propels us forward into the off-season.
Deuce, you scored 22 touchdowns this year. That is more than one a game. In your life, when you don't score a touchdown, do you feel like you've had a bad game?
No. And usually I don't judge bad and good games off of exactly how many touchdowns I score, how many yards I have. I really try and base off the impact of how I end up the game, whether or not we won or lost. It's kind of crazy. Of course, you look at, man, he had 4 touchdowns. Well, if I don't feel like I did enough to help my team succeed, it'll be a bad game in my regard. And it's one of those things that everybody looks at me crazy whenever I say that, but I don't know. I must be just wired a little bit different.
So, Deuce, the award goes to, for those that don't know, the best player in college football, Division I level from the state of Texas. And you obviously are from the state of Texas, and that's why you're up for the award despite playing at Kansas State. But Earl was big on that, on representing the state. What does it mean to you to represent Round Rock and represent the Lone Star State abroad? And just what does Texas and football mean to you?
It means a whole bunch. There are a lot of people behind me. My support system from Round Rock, from the Austin area, everybody that's poured into me throughout these years, and even now into college, even I've left the state, they continue to pour into me. And this is kind of like a testament, like a give back, a thank you for all that their hard work, their time, and everything that they poured into me, trying to say, hey, I thank y'all. Y'all got me to this point. I couldn't have done this alone. it's one of those things where it's like a really big thank you to all the people that have helped me throughout the way.
Paul brought up the touchdowns and all the touchdowns you scored, but your rushing yards this year jumped dramatically, and you got almost twice as many carries. But to be a running back, sometimes people realize it's not just, boom, there's a wide open hole, you go 50. You earned a lot of those yardage. How much better are you, and how are you better as a running back now?
I would say just from the mere fact that I added some weight going from this off season to this season from my freshman year, being able to take on some bigger impacts and gain some extra yards after contact, and then of course I'm always gonna have to bring up my O-line. Those guys, the work that they put in throughout the off season, they gelled together, and the way they played this season has helped me a whole bunch. And then of course my coaching staff, and I've gotten into the film room with them and been able to say, hey, what can I look for, especially in a defense, weaknesses or strengths? What can I take advantage of going into this game this week? They've helped me a whole bunch in that regard, and put all that together, and man, you get something special.
How much do you feel like the rest of the conference, once the news about Texas and Oklahoma came down in late July, and all of a sudden there was like this uncertainty in the Big 12, but the Big 12 bounced back, and everybody that was a part of it, really all of them had a really pretty good year. What was that like? Did that play in any way, shape, or form motivation for the last season?
I wouldn't say so. As far as Kansas State, just being inside that program, being inside that building, there was no external motivators as far as going into this upcoming season. I guess you could say this season that just passed. There was no external motivators with that. It was one of those things where we knew coming into this season we're going to play against OU, we're going to play against Texas, we're going to play against TCU, we're going to play against Baylor. We're going to play against all those guys in the Big 12. And I guess you could say the future of the Big 12 wasn't really something that we were really thinking about because of this upcoming season that we had in front of us. We knew that the work that we had put into the off season, the summer and fall camp was all going to have to come into fruition whenever we started playing this past fall. And that's exactly what we focused on.
Obviously, you, Coach Snyder, cast a long shadow there, but I cannot imagine a better fit for that program than Coach Kleiman. What's it like being with him day in and day out, and how he and the staff run that program?
It's big time. He's a player's coach. He tells us that every single day, and he's shown it to us. Whenever I came up for a visit 2 years ago, which is crazy to think about, 2 years now, for my visit, man, he said that we're going to build a culture, a winning culture here. We're going to build he was a great man. He's done that every single day. He's here with me tonight, and that just kind of shows the type of man, the type of coach that he is. And, man, I couldn't be more thankful for having in my life.
So, Deuce, we cover Baylor on a regular basis, but talk all Big 12. And I was just curious, they obviously went off and had a great year, Big 12 champs and Sugar Bowl. You guys fell, in that game earlier this year in Manhattan. But just what were your thoughts, a first-row point of view of playing that Baylor defense and just what you saw from them up close and personal?
Oh, man, they got a great defense. Jalen Petrie, as you can see from all of his awards, he's a great football player, really smart, fast, physical, and that really explains their entire defense from the first level, the second level, the third level. I mean, they're fast, they're gritty, they run solid, they're athletic, and those guys play for each other. And that's one thing that I noticed whenever we played against them. They play for each other every single play.
You mentioned, and we'll wrap it up with this, and thanks for your time, Deuce Vaughn with us, Kansas State running back. You mentioned what it was like to be honored to be a part of the finalist for the award that has Earl Campbell's name on it, plus it represents Texas. What would it mean to win it if, in fact, you were fortunate enough tonight to have your name called?
It'd be unreal. It'd be humbling, and it'd be great in the regard that, man, it'd be a big time thank you to everybody that supported me. Like I said earlier, all the hands that have been, I guess you could say, poured in on my journey through K-State, through high school, and to where I am now. It'd be a big thank you to all those guys, all those people that are in my corner. And man, it'd be crazy. It's something I dreamed about whenever I was younger.
You got a bunch of people there representing with you tonight, don't you? You have a big, large contingent?
Yes, sir.
I bet they're excited. Yes, yeah, that's family. Good for you, buddy. Thanks, Deuce. Thanks for your time. Good luck tonight.
No doubt. Thank you so much. Y'all have a nice night.
You too. That's Deuce Vaughn, sophomore, now junior running back at Kansas State. Exploded on the scene, what was it, a year or two ago in that win against Oklahoma when he was so hard to handle. Went from 642 yards rushing to 1,404, 18 touchdowns on the ground, 4. He's a great receiver, too. Slippery as he could possibly be. And the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award banquet tonight being held, and they'll announce the winner at about, 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah, he's a great player, really good player, fun to watch, and at times he's the only offense K-State's had. I mean, they've done everything through him, around him, whatever, and with Skylar Thompson, when they were together, that was a much different looking football team than when, they basically had to rely on Deuce alone when Thompson was injured. But, yeah, I mean, they've got him coming back next year, and obviously they're representing well tonight, so hope they all have fun. I know it's a really well-run event, and, he's got some stiff competition. I mean, those other 4 finalists are all very good in their own right, but, Deuce, very worthy of being a finalist, definitely one of the 5 best players offensively to come out of the state this year in terms of numbers and all of that. But it was a good group overall, and tough to kind of narrow it down to 5, but yeah, he's very worthy, and I love watching him. He seems like a great young man as well, and I never hear a bad word about him or even, close to that. So what a great rep, and hope they, like I said, have fun tonight.
The finalists include Deuce Vaughn of Kansas State, running back Abram Smith from Baylor, Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver, Ohio State, who went to Lake Travis.
And that one was, I think that people had a tough time with that because Jackson Smith and Jigba from Rockwall was also on that Ohio State team. And then, he obviously, the votes came in before the bowl game. So, if Jackson Smith and Jigba had gotten the votes after, he might have been there instead of Garrett Wilson. But, I mean, yeah, that's a good problem to have. Who's better, Jackson Smith and Jigba or Garrett Wilson? But, yeah, Garrett Wilson got the nod.
And Bailey Zappi, who we had on, the quarterback at Western Kentucky. We also, one of the other finalists as well. Oh, my God. Abram Smith, Deuce Vaughn, Bailey Zappi.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, I mentioned him. And there's a 5th finalist as well that's a part of it.
I'm blanking.
Yeah, I just went completely blank. And all 5, and I'm telling you, because I'm a voter, Craig puts together the weekly nominations. Cindy runs the event completely from start to finish. And you got down to where sometimes there's been, these are absolutely, may not even want more than 3 or 4. This year they could have gone 5, 6, 7 deep into the finalist, but those are the 5.
Yeah, Sincere
McCormack, who we've had on the show from UT San Antonio. It's kind of like that story kind of just faded, even though they had a great run until the end of the year when they lost that game to the North Texas and then lost their bowl game as well. And he broke records at UT San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm good with the group, and I had a little 2 cents on when the final group was being put together. There was actually a push for Bijan Robinson. And I was not okay with that because I felt like Deuce Vaughn had a bigger year. If you're just going to compare the running backs alone, or Sincere McCormack as far as the impact. But yeah, Bijan will be a front runner for it, I would imagine, next year. I think the injury and just Texas season as a whole limited him being, I think, a top 5 finalist. And it's not an award that's who's going to be the best NFL player. It's actual numbers matter and all that. So, he was a kind of a fringe guy for some, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, as I mentioned, and there were plenty of others that were up for that final group.
Jarrett Stearns.
Yeah, Jarrett Stearns at Western Kentucky was another one. I mean, there was a bunch of guys that could have been up for it. But, yeah, the
Kennedy
5.
Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, he was in that semifinalist group. I didn't think that he had a top 5 year. I mean, I wouldn't have taken him over Abram Smith.
No,
I wouldn't have taken him over Sincere McCormack. I think you get down to Bijan versus Kennedy Brooks, and you probably go Bijan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so, if Bijan's not in the final 5, then Kennedy Brooks doesn't deserve to be in the final 5. And, there were a lot of others, but it's a good group, and excited to see who wins tonight, and just thank Deuce for giving us some time there.
All right, when we come back, John Machota, Cowboys get ready for the 49ers on Sunday afternoon. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicLOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be and that you need to be. And, of course, maybe in some cases you used to be. And what I mean by that is you grow older, your testosterone levels inside of your body can change. They can get lower. Not everybody. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Sleep habits, energy, sex drive. Could be 1, 2, could be all 3. Dr. Kent Petty will set you up to get your lab work. He'll look at your blood results, check out your testosterone levels, and if they're too low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can be the man that you want and need and used to be. PettyClinicLowT.com will also, on that lab work, they'll set it up for you. You just have to contact them. Go to the website, PettyClinicLowT.com. Contact them. They'll set up the lab work. They'll set up the appointment, and then you go get your blood work, and they'll also comp that as well. And then if your testosterone levels are too low and in need of help, he can help you with that at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Payments for qualified buyers only at 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details. It's New Year, New Ride time at Richard Carr. New Year pre-owned deals like a 2017 Dodge Challenger for $272 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $422 a month, or a 2014 Cadillac CTS sedan for $227 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco, our brands continue to win awards year after year. The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. This month, you can get an early start to the new year with the Start Something New sales event, only at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Cowboys, 49ers, man, brings back the good old days. Packers are in the playoffs. That brings back those great good old days of the early, mid-90s. John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So there were all sorts of opportunity. It looks like different game. Everyone's going to play this. And all of a sudden, here comes San Francisco with the win against the Rams, which was not shocking. But the way things go down, here are the Cowboys and 49ers is – of all of who they could have played, is this maybe the most dicey or a little bit of a nerve-wracking matchup?
I think it depends on who you ask. For me personally, I don't think that this is – I would take the 49ers over the Rams. I would not have taken the 49ers over the Cardinals just because I just think it would be really tough if you had the Cardinals twice at home in 3 weeks. It'd be very tough for the Cardinals to win both of those games. And basically at the end of that Cardinals win over the Cowboys, Cliff Kingsbury said as much, like that he was not looking forward to the possibility of playing the Cowboys again. I thought that was their best one. But what this does present to you is it presents a much better option if you are to advance, because I think that they would like their chances a lot more going to Tampa Bay, where they almost beat the Bucs at the beginning of the year with Antonio Brown, with Chris Godwin, as opposed to having to go to the frozen tundra. So, yeah, round one, it's not your favorite matchup because they are the 49ers. The way they play is kind of Cowboys kryptonite for this season. But, that's why they play the games, and I'm sure the Cowboys are happy that at least they get to play at AT&T Stadium. But, yeah, this will be I believe, the most closely contested of the wild card games.
John, Micah Parsons back, says he felt like he had another bye week, so his COVID clearly wasn't that bad. But is that, after watching the Cowboys defense against the Eagles backups last week, without Micah Parsons, how much does it kind of ease concerns that he's back? Because they look very pedestrian without him in the lineup.
Yeah, there's no question about that, because you watch what the Eagles did. They almost went for 100 yards in the first half running the football with their backups against a lot of, not that the Cowboys were playing all their starters, but, they were playing a decent amount. And so that wasn't a good look. And especially going into this week where you're playing a team that's what they're going to do. They're going to run the football in a variety of ways. And that's been something that really hasn't been great for the Cowboys in terms of stopping the run since the bye week. They did a good job with it earlier in the season, but they haven't been that great as of late, and you certainly would like Micah Parsons to be back because he's a big part of that, especially with just the way the 49ers do it, too. It's not like they have this, Derrick Henry back that you're just like, hey, this is who you're going to have to deal with, line up. They're solid at running back, but then you also got to factor in Deebo Samuel, their wide receiver, big, solid wide receiver, who's got 8 rushing touchdowns this year. They do it in a variety of ways, so everybody on defense has to be on their toes. So, but yeah, to your point, certainly getting Micah Parsons back is huge for this because I will say the last couple of weeks, Leighton Vander Esch has been trending in the right direction. But still, linebacker has not been as good as we thought it was going to be going into this season. And that's going to be such a huge part of at least slowing this run game. Because, the 49ers, that's what they've been doing. If they run the ball well, they win this game.
John, it's only been 4 years since the Cowboys last won a playoff game, although obviously a lot's occurred in those 4 years. But 4 years since they beat the Seahawks in the wild card round, made the playoffs last year after missing out a couple years in a row following that last win. I saw the attendance notes that you guys were putting up and all that. How much of a buzz is building for this game? It just seems like because of the way this team's played all year, there's just a different feel sort of in the air. Do you sense that?
I do, and it's certainly trying to think the best way to describe it. It's we really want to jump in and be all in on this, but we're not quite sure. Can you guys just prove it to us? Can you give us something? Can you win Sunday, and then we'll be all in? You win Sunday, and then Tampa Bay takes care of the Eagles, and it's this divisional round game in Tampa, and you're liking your chances there. Then I feel like it's like everyone's back in. I was telling somebody the other day, it's almost like you're at a campfire at the end of the night, and it's kind of dying down. Everyone's kind of going to bed. The fire's pretty much out. And that's kind of where it's at right now. There's some coals left. And if you could just get a win on Sunday, everyone's coming back out to the party. They're bringing their drinks. They're starting up a new fire. Like, everything's going. But I just get the feel from the fan bases. It's like, we need you to prove it to us. Because you know what? We're not stupid. We're not buying into just because you ran all over Philly or Washington that's going to be the same thing that we're going to see on Sunday. So if you can show us that on Sunday against a good playoff team, then we want all back in. And maybe that gets you back to the way it was in 18 and before. Because I will say, earlier in the year, it was like that. Going into the bye week, coming off that New England win, which is their biggest win this season, the fan base was certainly all in on it. It certainly had a Super Bowl feel. But what they've done since the bye week, that's what got everyone kind of cautiously optimistic right now.
Well, John, I mean, the thing is that for the longest time, Cowboys fans just felt like it was right around the corner. Like, the Super Bowl return is right around the corner. Well, now it's been over 25 years. Right around the corner is over. So maybe now the attitude is probably where it needs to be. Prove it, and we'll get excited.
Yeah, and the other part of it, too, is it's like, I feel like because you have a veteran coach and Mike McCarthy, you know, I don't think that people look at it as it's completely night and day from Jason Garrett, even though they would take Mike McCarthy over Jason Garrett. I think if there isn't the playoff success, then Cowboys fans are sitting there going, well, we've seen this for the last decade. This is nothing new. Like, this is what Jason Garrett was doing. Like, they'd have these good seasons, but then they would be stopped short in the playoffs. But if you can get a run here and Mike McCarthy can do what he did early in his time in Green Bay, and possibly go to the NFC Championship game or further, then all of a sudden everyone has a belief that, okay, we got a coaching staff now to go with the talent on the team that knows how to get it done when it matters most. That's what we're going to believe in. But if you're just going to show us 12-win, 13-win seasons and NFC East championships, while that's good for a lot of other organizations, I feel like the Cowboys fan base looks at it as like, yeah, you know, we've kind of been there and done that. Like, it's time to go to the next level. And the other thing that factors into that is that you have a season like Micah Parsons did. You have a season like Trayvon Diggs did that you haven't seen the Cowboys have from on the defensive side of the ball. You have a guy in Dan Quinn that most believe will be a head coach next year at this time. Like, you have all this good stuff going for you. But if you just go and lose on Sunday, how much different are you really than you were just a few years ago?
You know, it's amazing because this is America's team and blah, 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 and all these fans, and they have thousands of people on the road, and yet they may not be quite ready, right? Because they've been fooled so many different times. So, John, they obviously did a lot in that game Saturday night against the Eagles. Was it Philadelphia going in, whatever, half-cocked, or was it Dallas finding a few things? Did you have any idea, or was it just two teams running out their schedule?
I just think it was clearly one team that really wanted that win and another team that was like, yeah, we're just trying to get to the playoffs as healthy as possible. I mean, the feel in Philadelphia was that, hey, whatever happens in this game, we're probably getting the Bucs. Whether we stay at 6, go down to 7, like, we're probably facing Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Let's try and get as healthy as possible. And so that's why you didn't see them play most of their starters. The pregame show when Jerry Jones said that he expected Dak Prescott to still be out there in the fourth quarter, I thought he was just kind of playing it up, like making it more interesting than it really was, because you saw that stadium. I mean, it wasn't full. Like, it just didn't have that feel like for a Saturday night game in like prime time at the end of the season would. And Dak's still out there in the fourth quarter, and yeah, he throws for 5 touchdowns. I don't know how much that carries over into the San Francisco game. You know, that's my whole thing about it. Like, obviously you'd rather have that performance than to have them go out there and just barely beat the Eagles and then have a bunch of injuries. So you're happy that you got out of it the way you did. But as soon as that ball gets kicked off against San Francisco, you get punched in the mouth, or they come down on a 15-play drive and score first. No one's going to be talking about, like, well, you know, they built up some momentum against Philadelphia.
Yeah. John, are there any injury concerns going into this week?
I would say, now there are the guys coming back from COVID, so, you know, they weren't doing much last week. Micah Parsons says that's not an issue for him, so that's a good sign. Tyron Smith's back, obviously that's a good sign. I'd say the biggest one would probably be Jaron Kearse, because he was dealing with COVID and a hamstring issue. He's expected to return tomorrow. He's been such a key part to this defense, on top of the fact that they really need him for George Kittle. So he's expected to play, but you're just kind of wondering at where he's going to be at. Outside of that, Tony Pollard was a full go today in practice, so that was obviously a good sign after he didn't play against Philly, which was just a rest situation so they could get him as close to 100% as possible for this game. Blake Jarwin, same thing, trending in a good direction after returning last week. So, yeah, they're in good shape. I mean, they're in better shape than San Francisco is, who, Trent Williams didn't practice today. Their standout left tackle that Cowboys fans should know well from his days in Washington. And he's having one of, if not the best season of his career. So it seems like if he plays, he's not going to probably be 100%, or he might not play at all, depending on the way the rest of the week goes. So comparatively speaking, I think that the Cowboys are in better shape than San Francisco is.
John Machota, The Athletic, with us here on SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports. John, thanks a lot. Enjoy the game this week.
Will do. I appreciate it, guys.
John Machota, SicEm 365 Radio. Coming up next, Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Celebrating the championship run of Baylor. Men's basketball, of course, we know what that's like. The documentary comes out Friday evening at the Waco Hall. The debut of that, and then there's, of course, football, the Big 12 Championship, and the Sugar Bowl. And now they are tweaking whatever else there is in the football program to work on trying to go back-to-back. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat with a championship drive right now going on. And right now you could also find the Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, whatever brand among what they have available. Performance, reliability from their selection of new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cabs. If you're planning your next adventure, of course, the Jeep models. The range of different vehicles they have is well worth the test drive. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy. Look at what they have as they start the championship new sales event at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on SicEm 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 coaches I would hire for open NFL jobs. Now, some of these, 3 of these teams have to hire new GMs as well. But, there's 6, which is kind of a top 6. We have a bonus situation at the end as well. But number 5, the Bears. Leslie Frazier, defensive coordinator for the Bills, would hire him in a second. The most successful they've been the last, 30 years was with Lovie Smith. Leslie Frazier is a Lovie Smith disciple and runs that defense, runs it great right now. I would absolutely bring in Leslie Frazier and let him build the Bears in the image they need to be in the cold NFC North in tough defense, and try to find somebody who, for as long as he's there, which is either next year or not, Aaron Rodgers can maybe do something about containing Aaron Rodgers and maybe get some of that real estate back that he owns, because he does, in fact, own the Bears. He and the McCaskies together.
Yeah, Leslie Frazier, a lot of knowledge of that NFC North, and the Bears, man, talk about a team whose city wants them to be good and is desperately, trying to be good, and they just can't seem to get over that hump. They've had their modicum of success here and there, but Leslie Frazier, a dude with a lot of skins on the wall, and I think he'd be a nice fit in Chicago.
Yeah. Number 4, the Giants, Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Bucs. Look, he was with the Jets before. And look, the Giants have ownership, which has won and been excellent throughout periods in their time. They need to get a good general manager. But again, Todd Bowles needs to be a head coach again. I think he's proven he can be a head coach, or he needs another shot. In the same, he and Leslie Frazier kind of fall in the same group to me. In the guys who weren't successful, but they weren't with great organizations at the time. And if you had done that with the greatest NFL coach ever, we wouldn't have Bill Belichick right now. So guys deserve more than one shot. Todd Bowles absolutely would be, I think, a home run hire for the Giants. But again, the Giants don't seem to do anything kind of exciting or interesting. They kind of just hire bland offensive coordinators or guys like Joe Judge, Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur. That's what they do.
Yeah, the Giants are
very forgettable.
I think what in the NFL, we hear about bad quarterback play. I think even worse than that is bad management. Mm-hmm. Whether it's ownership, general managers, whoever's running the personnel department. And the Cowboys seem to be about as good as they've been in 25 years. But honestly, the Giants, the Redskins are a mess. And but the Giants, what they've done, they can't even get lucky with somebody.
No.
How come we couldn't hire Belichick? How come we couldn't? Well, no.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I mean, a defensive-minded guy, obviously had success with the Bucs, knows what a Super Bowl team looks like, and in New York, I guess, would you say defense is their biggest issue?
I mean, everything's their biggest issue.
I mean, they bet everything on Daniel Jones.
It's just peeing away the time with Daniel Jones and Saquon at this point is the only thing. But, I mean, you got to start somewhere, so maybe he'd be the guy. But I definitely think Todd Bowles will get another look.
Look, if I were the Giants, I would trade Saquon Barkley right now.
I mean, yeah.
I would trade him. And I would try to get another quarterback in there. But
you and I are texting back and forth on this. Who is he?
Yeah, but I would trade because I just want as much. They've got 2 first-round picks. I'd want some draft capital, and you're not getting a first-round pick for Saquon now, given his injury history, but you could get a second round and you load up there. Number 3, Minnesota, Kellen Moore as much as a Cowboys fan as I would like to see him stay forever, that's just not going to happen. He's going to be a hot name. And if I'm Kellen Moore, of the open jobs outside of maybe Denver, which I have another name on the list for Denver, Minnesota would attract me. Now, Kirk Cousins is fine and serviceable, and it can be kind of fun at times. But when you look at Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison in the backfield, you've got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and the exciting wide receivers that they have. I know I'm leaving somebody out at wide receiver in Minnesota as well. Young tight ends, a good offensive line. He can run his offense very well there, and especially with Dalvin Cook, who's one of the best running backs and players in football, to get him the ball in the passing game more, which he would. I would absolutely think this is a home run hire for the Vikings. But again, they've got to hire their general manager first.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hot young name, and young is what he is. I mean, that's the thing is, like, is he mature enough to handle all the rigors of an NFL head coaching job? Because we see dudes in their 60s that break down and crack, under the pressure. But he seems to be built different, and he's not going to be, Cowboys OC for too much longer. I mean, he's obviously too talented for that. And yeah, they could use an injection of some excitement up there in Minnesota. And I would like this just based on the fact it's not another recycled head coach.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what the NFL does more often. I mean, like, I hear these names like Todd Bowles and Doug Peterson and Brian Flores and Leslie Frazier, and it's all these same names. And like next year, if they don't get jobs, they'll be the names that are mentioned right there at the top. And I know college football is not all that different because they kind of go to the same well a lot of times, but the NFL is the absolute worst about recycling guys who aren't very good. So I'd like to see somebody, some new blood get injected. That'd be great.
Speaking of the Bears, they announced that they had already interviewed Doug Peterson. They're going to also interview Glenn Cook, who has been with the Browns.
Yeah, as for a GM spot. Number 2, Jacksonville, Byron Leftwich goes back to the team that drafted him. And look, he has become a very respected coordinator in the league. Tom Brady loves him, which to me is enough. And especially if Tom Brady loves him and you're Jacksonville, you have only a couple things going for you right now, and the biggest of which is Trevor Lawrence. I'd want a good quarterback mind to help develop him, somebody who's maybe been through those rigors. I think Byron Leftwich would be great to go back to Jacksonville. I think the fans would love it. I think he could get along, obviously, with the Cons very well. And he's also not a two-faced, stupid idiot that will do things that will make you look bad.
Well, their management sucks, and the Cons are the biggest reason why. I think Tony needs to get out of it and just stick to wrestling, and I think that Shad needs to go hire a real GM and a real front office, and that would be a big step forward for them. And you say, like, what they've got. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hadn't even proven he's got it yet. I mean, that's the thing is, like, they desperately need him to work out, and I'm not sold that he's going to be a star quarterback in the next 5 years in the NFL. I mean, are you, based on what you've seen? No, he was not Mr. like all everything at the NFL level. And granted, a lot of it's what happened around him and coaching as well. But, I mean, he didn't show that he's like the next big thing, even though that's what he's been touted as for the last 3 years. But that's also getting drafted to Jacksonville. I mean, it automatically plummets your everything. But, yeah, I mean, it would make sense because of Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he has to work out. Like, he has to work out. So, yeah, definitely I'm on board with getting a offensive-minded and especially quarterback-specific head coach in there to try to make that happen.
Yep. And number 1, Denver, Eric Bieniemy. Not only is he a legend at Colorado, he's long overdue. You pluck him from your chief division rival, the Chiefs, who he has been doing great work with Patrick Mahomes. And the other thing you do is you trade for either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Now, Jack, the Packers homer here, doesn't think that he thinks Aaron Rodgers has mended the fences in Green Bay. But if I'm them, I go and try to get Russell Wilson. Eric Bieniemy with that offense with Javonte Williams, say you add in a Russell Wilson or an exciting young quarterback, but I would think it might be Russell Wilson. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, great offensive line. Eric Bieniemy would crush this job in Denver as a play caller and offensive strategist, and I think it's time for Eric Bieniemy.
Mahomes doesn't play there.
No, but again, I mean, he knows the offense. You get the right guys. You tell me he can't do the same thing with Russell Wilson he does with Mahomes.
He might.
You know, if he got him, I think that's what they should do. Eric Bieniemy, Russell Wilson in Denver. They're looking at another Super Bowl. And bonus is there's 6 open jobs. If Miami's not going to do anything that makes sense, And I know that we've heard Brian Flores might be hard to work with, and that's fine. But go and get a guy who would love to come to Miami. Get on the Lane train, Dolphins. Hire Lane Kiffin.
That's a complete nowhere for me, and it means it probably will happen.
Yeah, I'd like to see Lane just for the disaster that I think it would be at the NFL level. In Miami, that would be, especially after what they're coming off of, the disappointment of Flores not working out, which I did see more of the talk about why they didn't work out, and it wasn't the win streak and all that. It was basically they just seemed like they wanted to get him out of there because they were tired of dealing with him. I mean, that was what it boiled down to. So, on the surface, it looks one way, but underneath, when you're the day-to-day, it's a little bit different and not as, it's because he's he got off to a bad start, or it's because he's black, or it's because he's not this, or he's not that. I mean, no, it just sounded like he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I even saw Xavier Howard kind of commenting on it, and that's what ultimately got him out of there. But they got to figure out, is Tua the dude? I mean, is Tua going to be the guy? But you've got some other good pieces. He didn't leave the cupboard bare by any means. But, yeah, Lane Kiffin in the NFL would be something else.
One note earlier today in the premium section, Colt Barber had a note about Chancey Stuckey, wide receivers coach at Baylor, being interviewed by Notre Dame, and was serious. It was where Notre Dame was looking at a couple of options. Pete Sampson, just a moment ago, who's been on with us, covers Notre Dame, that Notre Dame expected to hire Chancey Stuckey from Baylor as its next receivers coach. It came down to he and also Jamarcus Shepard from Purdue. And Colt also has just popped that up in the premium section, official, that Chancey Stuckey's there for Baylor for less than a year. I tell you what, Tyquan Thornton believes in him. And so now Dave Aranda needs to get a special teams and safeties coach and a wide receivers coach, and those are things on his plate right now.
Chancey Stuckey will be an offensive coordinator or the like in a couple of years. His career's got a bullet on it.
It's only his second year of coaching. He's dead, but he does seem to be on the fast track. For Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thanks to all of our guests. Thanks to you who watched and listened to today. Back again tomorrow. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.